They let me in.
Let you in.
Talking to us for a minute.
Yeah, yo.
How you doing, fam?
Everything's good. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
Proper.
Still breathing.
For real.
The brother brought some. We have somebody here.
All right.
What's your name again? We have somebody here. Let me just say how you doing.
Peace. How you doing?
All right. We got the sister on the phone. Remember we all talked the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
You're listening.
For real. All right, yo. We'll see. Yeah, since we're behind, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Sir.
5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Lord, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
And
justice.
justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My God.
And my salvation.
Myself.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
By day.
Through his holy prophet.
Which one?
Noble Drew Ali. Islam. Yeah.
We gonna figure out what we're gonna do with it.
All
You get feedback?
No, I'm not getting feedback.
Let me see. Is that better?
No, you're good. I'm not getting anything. It's
Is
good.
that better? Is that
I just think it's just proximity of the speakerphone to the
They didn't
speaker.
do it last time with the brother on the phone.
Yeah, I know.
See if I even doing it now.
Okay. That's good.
About to talk.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, 10 of them.
Hey.
We got any questions to start up?
Yeah, I do got some questions, Brother Cujo.
All right.
All right, maybe you can just point me in the right direction. But because we have a newbie in the house and, she's with child, I figured maybe, unless you had a, different itinerary for the night, maybe you could maybe talk to her a little bit about, the wardship, birth certificate, and,
Right.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
Okay, but my question was, hopefully I can make them, brief. Me and Phoebe ordered those, set of books, about 9 or 10 books.
Yeah.
And one of them was about property
Okay.
rights and stuff. But I've been looking for specific information, and I didn't find it in some of the videos that I watched with Taj. He did cover like mortgages or what have you.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for, specific information as it pertains to how to remove my property from the county roads and allodial title. How to obtain the allodial title and remove my property from the county tax rolls.
From the county tax rolls?
Yeah, from the county tax rolls.
What's the county tax rolls?
Well, that's where they have the description of your property, and they basically tax it, based on the description, location, yada yada yada.
They might call it something different over there.
Yeah, they may call it something different over there, but just like, they give you a legal description, quote unquote legal description of your property lines, what have you, and then they basically send people their tax bills based on that. And the address, of course.
Okay. And when you say property, you talk about like vehicles, or is it everything?
Home.
Or for homes?
Yeah.
Well, if there's a mortgage.
No mortgage.
No mortgage? It's paid for?
Paid for.
Okay. So if it's paid for, then you just have to claim the property. Because them having it on the tax roll is because the deed says you're a tenant, so you have to pay tax.
Right.
Right? So the people who are charging the tax is who you're going to be going at.
So that'd be the county.
Well, is it a county or is it a private corporation? That's
Well, yeah,
right.
it's a corporation. Right?
Yeah, because if now, but that depends. Is the county legitimate? And if the county, if it's a legitimate county and they have it on there, then there has to be a status of it on that roll. So if the status of it is paid off, then there shouldn't be any issue with claiming the property.
Okay, well, I need to be directed in the.
Yeah, I would send an email to RVB or something about that.
Okay.
Because I can't really say what to do or what not to do.
Okay. Sister NIE, she's pretty good at that stuff, right?
Yeah, you can contact her too on the Moorish Nation site, or the Eyes Wide Open Gmail.
She's on Facebook also.
Yeah, or put it on Facebook. See what she says.
Okay. Because when you claim it, you're basically claiming a allodial title anyways, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I'll get back with you on that. I remember Taj talking about that on one of those, on Silver Alert on one of those shows. I have to go over and see which one it
For real.
was.
Yeah. It might be a mortgage title one, probably.
Yeah, because I've looked at some of his some videos, and most of them were talking, to the people about how to.
I'm Silver Alert.
Oh, okay. She's talking Silver Alert, but the videos that I watched from Tosh, she was talking about mostly mortgages for those people that had mortgages.
Yeah.
There's very many people that were free and clear, so that's my situation. I just need to know what I need to do, where the information is that I need to be studying, so I can go ahead and do the process myself.
You could also try Wise Trustee Handbook.
Wise Trustee Handbook?
Yeah, it should be online. Or I'll see if I could get it on. I'm pretty sure it's online, and that's just a handbook on trust, creating trusts and all that.
Okay, yeah, because that's something that I wanted to do too. Because, well, I'm going to be putting it in trust under the temple anyways, but it's still good to know.
Yeah, because you still need that knowledge. Even if you're going to put it under the temple or the trust of the temple, you still need the knowledge of how trust runs.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Okay. That was my main, caveat for tonight. Other than maybe talking to Selena about, maybe her situation, at least to just kind of like open her eyes up and give her an idea of what we do, what we represent. I've been talking to her. She's a very sharp young lady, and trust me, her eyes are open. She's conscious. She loves to learn, so I think this is going to be good for her. So I'm just going to digress and just sit back now.
Is there any questions that sis has immediately?
Any questions offhand? Not at this point. If you have any, feel free to ask.
Sure, I'm sure there's some kind of question about something you heard about Moors or
like this. There you go.
heard about Moors or heard about sovereignty or something like that. No questions whatsoever. All right. So this is not mainly the perspective, but with regard to the wardship and birth certificates and things of that nature, the reason why Moors deal with those things or talk about those things or speak on those things, because those are the primary instruments that are used to get the people denationalized or get the people out of their national status. And they usually start with the females because the females are the ones that bring humanity. So they're gonna go at the females first, just because. So all the things that they have set up stems from, 14th, 15th Amendment, and then into having birth certificates and deeds and all these corporate constructs that people assume because it sounds like their name on the document or on the card or on whatever, that it's them, when it's not really them. It's really the wardship position that the individual who's holding that item, card or whatever, accepted, right? But it was accepted through a fraudulent contract because the birth certificate is bonded. And when our parents signed up for the birth certificate, they weren't told that information. So that makes the contract void from its inception, or void ab initio. So any contract that we're involved in, any contract that we engage in, that we have to sign, it's in our best interest to reserve our rights on the contracts to be safe. So that way they can't come later and try to make you a ward of the crown or a ward of the state or whatever, because in a contract society, in a corporate society, the contract is what makes the law. So you want to make sure you reserve your rights on all these contracts, which is anything that you sign. You reserve your rights by writing all rights reserved on the line and signing over all rights reserved. That way you protect yourself in case they try to come at you after for whatever reason. And most times they come at you after because that's how they make their money, by attacking people who don't have any knowledge. So it's not, if you're hassled, or if it feels like a hassle not getting the birth certificate because of all the implications of children's services, and you just don't want to be threatened or whatever, then make sure you reserve your rights on whatever contracts you're getting yourself into until you get the knowledge to correct that position. Because the only thing that you can really do to protect yourself in this day and age is reserve your rights on the contracts. And now what they're doing in order to stop people from reserving their rights on all these contracts is that they're doing everything electronically. So you don't have to sign. You just push a button and you agree. Do you agree to the terms there? And then you just click yes. That's the signature. And you didn't get to reserve your rights on it. So anything that's in that, because you already know we don't read it, we just scroll to the bottom, click yes. Right? You already know we're not reading.
Right, I think it was Anna speaking on that before, as far as the lawfulness of that contract electronically.
Yeah. It doesn't really hold weight because there's no signature, so it's void. They can't really enforce a contract that doesn't have a signature. But somewhere in there, it stipulates by you clicking or you going on the site or you whatever, that's your signature.
That could be anybody clicking it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right? Because everybody's a straw anyways, so it doesn't matter who clicks it, because everybody's straw. Anybody could click it. Mom could come and do it. Somebody's aunt could do it. Somebody's child could be on the computer messing around, they do it. Right? But it's void, and the only way that it could really be void is if somebody improper person speaks up about it. But then somebody improper person wouldn't even be engaging in that type of contract, because you already know that they're trying to get you in that war chip status, or they're trying to denationalize you by not letting you be able to sign it, which is deliberate. It's deliberate because the Moors have put it out there so much that now it's becoming standard amongst the people that they reserve their rights on contracts.
I'll show her how to reserve her rights so when that damn time comes.
Yeah.
But I'll also explain to her what it means to do that.
Right. And
so
then
it's not just signing, she knows what it means.
Right. And then also too, it's for the people to also go and research it, even though they were told.
Right.
So that it resonates with them individually, or it resonates with them for themselves. Because, like we say, all the information is really theirs. And if they don't pick it up and do anything with it, then it's just information that's just sitting there. It's just collected data. And
that, probably piss people off. But doesn't that demonetize their ability to market that bond in the marketplace when you reserve your rights on that BC?
Right. On whatever instrument. That's right. That's what it does. They can't sell it.
Right.
But then also too, they can't lift your signature and put it on other stuff.
Right.
If you reserve your rights. Because they're also in the business of lifting signatures.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they're in the business of taking organs when people die. Mm-hmm. And then they want to call other people organ snatchers or whatever.
Right.
When you could check out, like up here, they have it on the back of your license that you could consent to them taking your organs. That you can check something off. That if you get in a car accident, they have jurisdiction over your body and they can do whatever they want with your body. If you want that, just click here or check this off. And the licenses out here. So they're in the business of population control. That's their business.
Yeah, Phoebe just mentioned it. I know we discussed this before about the 14th Amendment also being the piggyback for civil rights.
Yeah.
And how the 14th Amendment was not ratified.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was looking at the 14th Amendment for some reason the other day, a couple days ago, whenever I was trying to look at it, to the point to where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the 14th Amendment was the one that basically stated that individuals of African descent could never be U.S. citizens, right?
Right.
Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm just looking for it right now.
But the reason why I brought it back up is because if you go online and you pull up the 14th Amendment, they'll tell you that it was ratified.
Yeah. They'll also tell you that the reverse of the Great Seal is the obverse.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Oh.
Right? Because their position is inquisitionist. So they're not gonna say anything really in our favor. You know, especially so-called Negro, black, colored people.
Oh.
Right? Because the whole idea is to get them to agree to that 14th Amendment nonsense. Right?
Yeah, they break a whole bunch of their own laws with the whole ratification thing anyway.
Yeah,
So which voids that out anyway.
exactly.
Like double void.
That's all.
Yeah. And
It's good.
I'm trying to find some with the 14th Amendment, but
That's fine.
United States Code, section that we offer for property taxes. And I read that that's the property. It's right here, this right here. Tax assessment, that's the city.
that's why Drew Ali said that the 14th and 15th Amendments not necessary for the redemption of the people. Because the 14th Amendment is talking about slaves or whatever, which we're not.
Right.
So there's no need to even go there to discuss anything. Right?
I just mentioned it just because I think that they changed some of the verbiage. You know, I noticed when I read it, I didn't see the verbiage state that individuals of African descent could not be U.S. citizens. It's like they was kind of like hiding and kind of throwing that under the rug.
Right.
But I just think that it's good for people to see that in its organic, form.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
See what they're putting out there so that they know that while they're running around here talking about civil rights and all this other stuff, it's right here in your face.
In your face.
I don't care if he is driving the Benz, he's still a nigga.
Right. And the people consent to that. So it's not even like they can put some blame on somebody. The people agreed to that. Just like they agreed to drink from the black fountain and all that. Yeah, I thought it would be in here, but it's not even in here. But yeah, so that's why even with the statements by Drew Ali, he told the Moors that, What's your nationality? Moorish American. Right? So automatically, if we're Moorish American, then we're American citizens. And if we're American citizens, then we can't be U.S. citizens. Because that's a immediate conflict.
Yes.
If we're saying that we're U.S. citizens, right? Especially after, you know, Dred Scott and all that, where they put it out there that, hey, we can't be U.S. citizens, right?
That was a Supreme Court case.
Yeah, right. And also too, there was also a Supreme Court case that ruled civil rights unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to know what that is, if you happen to know it.
I don't have it offhand. You can get it online though. You can get it online. That's out there. That's out there.
That raises a question. International travel. We touched on this, I believe, before. I don't think I took a note on it, but we touched on it before. When you travel internationally, do you use a passport?
Yeah.
Do you use a passport in the name of X-Rail?
Yeah. And I just reserve my rights on it.
Reserve your rights on it. So on your signature, your rights are reserved on that passport?
Yep.
So I need to take mine and say I lost it, give me another one to be signed and reserve my rights on that passport then.
Well, I mean, you can if you're not going anywhere, you can do it up for renewal, or what you could do is one of the Moors sent us apparently you can apply for a passport as a national.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 different ways that you can get a passport.
Yeah. So
citizen, one is a national, and one is a forget what it's called, but it's not quite a national, but yeah.
Are you talking about the world passport?
No,
not the world passport, like an actual U.S. passport.
I would say, yeah, that one is no good. There was something on there that
yeah, I ain't messing with that.
Yeah.
I
ain't messing with that.
That would put you right back under the jurisdiction.
For real.
Yeah.
It's some specific wording on there.
Yeah.
So, Cujo, do you know how to obtain that national?
Yeah. I'll email you the email that the brother sent.
So when he did that, did he still do that? Did he do that in his in procreative person, in his natural person?
I didn't even look at it yet because the process wasn't for here.
Okay, it was for here.
Yeah, it was for there. So when you check it out, everything's in there. It's an email with the application, and then it has an affidavit that you submit when you put the application in.
Okay.
Right.
I've read that before. I've read that, and I believe I have it in on my software on my external hard drive. I might even have it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it if you email that to us.
Dr. Brother Aline, he travels with his papers, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I don't know how international he's gone with the papers though.
You know, because I would just really think that if, you know, we're really on top of, you know, knowing what we do, knowing what we're doing, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to travel anywhere in the world with our ID.
Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to from you know, like morally, right?
Right.
But you know, the people that we're dealing with are immoral.
Absolutely.
So we can't really expect too much from them, you know, but at the same time, you know, that's not supposed to divert us from what we're supposed to do. You know what I mean? we're supposed to be governing ourselves, right? And in us governing ourselves, we get to realize what people are doing, what people have done, you know, for us to be in the situation that we're in, because there's motive why we're in the situation that we're in. This is not just like this just because it's supposed to be like this right now. This is like this because of generations of, you know, color of law and fraud and all these things, you know. So we you know, as you get knowledge, you grow, you know. As you get knowledge, you grow. But we're not gonna do anything overnight with regard to this. We're not gonna stop, you know, we're not gonna stop the killing. You know, we could cut it down a little bit, but you know, some people are gonna be casualties of war, you know, unfortunately. But this is where we are, you know. That's why the active Moors activity is so detrimental to the people who's in power, because the ones who sided with the people who are in power, right, their job was to make sure that people don't find out about this. And people are finding out about this every day. More people are coming into this information because everybody's at that point where they want something practical that's gonna get them out of this mess that they're in. And the only practical thing that you can do is proclaim your nationality. That's the most practical thing you can do to save yourself from what's about to go down. Because it's something that they've been talking about. You know, you hear people talk about it, but you know, it's not talked about so that the people could consider it. You know, it's just kind of put out there, right? Then the other half is, you know, people on our side doing dirty things to get people who are just coming into this to think that there's too much confusion in this, I don't want nothing to do with it, which is what their job is.
Yeah, they're infiltrators.
Their job is to get people to look at this and turn the other cheek and go the other direction. Right? And people usually turn the other cheek and go the other direction because they didn't study. They were told. And if you don't study, you don't read it for yourself, it's not going to resonate you. You know? This is a personal exorcism. Proclaiming their nationality. It's a personal exorcism. So you can get all these demons off of us that's been plaguing us all our life. Wonder how come our conditions are so bad, everybody's conditions good. Because we have demons. Right? And we don't want to admit that fact. We want to pretend like we don't have demons. And then passing demons on to our children and having crazy children, shooting up schools and all this stuff, and nobody knows. Everybody's saying psychology and whatever. When it's people's thoughts. Where's your mind at? Majority of people's minds aren't even on nationality and birthrights. So If your mentality isn't on nationality and birthrights, don't ask for any help from any ancestors or God or anybody, because nobody's coming for you because you abandoned your birthright. Your days are not going to be long on the earth land because you abandoned your ancestors. It's unfortunate, but that's what the reality is. And people really don't think that what Moors teach is that serious because, you know, it's not presented like that to them by people who they trust. People who they trust are telling them that this is some club, some group, some cult, some whatever, right? Instead of telling them that it's their birthright. And it doesn't matter if you're Buddhist, NOI, Garveyite, Pan-African, Gods on Earth, atheist, whatever, you have a right to a nationality. You have a right to that. But they're not going to take that right because they think that, oh, that's Moors are studying white man's law and stupidness like that. When everybody has a nationality. And it's not, you know, it's like we were saying on the Facebook. Chinese don't go around asking themselves, what Buddhist temple do you belong to? Because it's irrelevant what temple I belong to. I'm a Chinese national. Doesn't matter if I'm Christian or if I'm Buddhist or if I'm, you know, Taoist or whatever. It's irrelevant because nationality is the order of the day amongst all people. It's not just, you know, Moors talking about nationality. There's other people doing that too. They just don't come out and say nationality. Because if they came out and said nationality with regard to every single situation that's going on in the world, you realize that the only people who are stateless are Negro, black, colored people. Everybody else is fighting to keep their national standards at the risk of their life. Everybody wants to keep their national standards. Majority of people are willing to die for their rights. They're not letting nobody take their rights from them. You know? Any other questions that come to mind?
Maybe you can touch on what was he telling you about? He was telling you about a Mexican. Maybe talk about 1956.
With Morocco?
Mm-hmm.
As far as Morocco?
Yeah, and the Freeman's Bureau.
Okay. Let's see if that's in there. Alright, so there was this bureau in 1865 called Freedman's Bureau. Right? The word is used, so freedman in the Black's Law Dictionary. In Roman law, one who was set free from a state of bondage, an emancipated slave. The word is used in the same sense in the United States, respecting Negroes who were formerly slaves. Right? So the Freedman's Bureau's job was to get the slaves to reclaim their position or their status get some land back and all that type of stuff, and put an end to this game that was going on. But Lincoln was heading that. So they assassinated Lincoln, they killed Lincoln, and then when they killed Lincoln, they basically raided the Freedmen's Bureau, because everything that was in the Freedmen's Bureau was supposed to go to the Asiatics coming out of slavery. So they assassinated Lincoln, got Hannibal Hamlin out the way, brought in Andrew Jackson and all that. Created, you could say, created a infight, because if we look at it like, the Freedmen's Bureau wasn't really supported by everybody, right? But everybody knew that there was a Negro problem. So they were kind of trapped in a position of, well, okay, if we help the Negroes, they might take over, and we'll go right back into being what how we treat them, right? Tables might turn back if we give them all this rope, right? And then the second part of it was, well, if we infiltrate and get rid of it, then we can continue to claim the estate instead of handing it back over to them, right? To the Negro black coloreds, right? So all this time, right, when you have so-called slaves in America and all these things, all this time you have people like Sundry Free Moors and Lenny Lenape and Cherokees and Henry Turner and all these Aboriginal dark-skinned people making the claim that they're indigenous to the land and have certain authority with regard to certain things. So Henry Turner sued the United States, right? Like, all these things are before the Freedmen's Bureau, right? Sundry Free Moors, right? So when the people realize that they're not slaves, right? There was nothing for them to fall back on. So they just remained slaves. Or they did like Harriet Tubman and escaped, right? But majority of the people who remained so-called slaves were supposed to be freed through the Freedmen's Bureau, right? And in 1913, Noble Drew Ali was the resurrection of that idea, but in a structure that was created for us, by us. It wasn't an outsider structure, right? So the Moorish movement has more clout than the Freedmen's Bureau because it was actually set up by a sovereign or someone connected to a sovereign nation, instead of somebody that's a foreigner trying to assist indigenous people, right? And then with regard to Morocco in North Africa started or gained their independence in 1956. So before 1956, there was no place called Morocco that included North Africa. The only place that was known as Morocco was the Moroccan Empire before 1956. There's no Morocco meaning North Africa, before 1956. Only Morocco that existed before 1956 is the Moroccan Empire. But that was part of how even Morocco was able to get their claim, by using the Moroccan Empire. And instead of saying empire, they say kingdom. And then everybody agreed that, okay, sure, you know, you can do that. Why not? Go right ahead. But if they're claiming to be a kingdom, then they have no authority in the empire. Just like if you're claiming, just like if you're claiming a benefit from the birth certificate, right? If you're claiming a benefit from the birth certificate, you can't make any claims after that. Because the claim that you make trying to get a benefit from the birth certificate really is you giving up your authority and giving it to the people who created the birth certificate by using their process. So you validate their process by going and messing with that stuff. You sanction the fraud. Because 10 minutes ago, before we found out about $1 million in the birth certificate, we were saying that that's not us. We don't want nothing to do with that. You know? That's a straw man. Oh yeah, they pulled a trick on my mom and they made her a birth certificate and all this type of stuff. And now we hear that there's $1 million account. Oh, now it's not fraud no more. And we want to go and try to file some paper to get some fiat discharge power through some birth certificate. That's contempt. And they put people in jail for that. You know? Like you can't try to benefit from something that you're claiming is a fraud. You know? So the Morocco in North Africa is benefiting from the Moorish Empire because the Moors want to be Negro black colored people. They don't want to be themselves. So if you don't want to pick up that $100 on the ground that you dropped, that you saw that you dropped, don't get mad when somebody else picks it up and they go buy crack with it.
Damn crazy.
Right? You know, they might be a mayor or something, right?
Right.
You can't get mad. That's their $100 now. You know, you dropped it. You know what I'm saying? So, I found that email. What's the what email you want me to send this thing to? The passport stuff.
That's what I'm watching. I don't watch. You can shoot it to M.E. Whitson, WHITSON at Yahoo.
.ca or .com?
.com.
So M.E. Whitson?
WHITSON?
Yeah, so MEWHITSON.
Right.
Alright. Sending that thing now.
Appreciate it, brother.
No problem, fam.
And with that 1956 thing, with them not being officially even official until 56, anything. So then when you hear them talking about Morocco prior to 56, then you know.
Yeah, they weren't talking about those guys over there.
Right, they weren't even established yet.
They didn't even exist. They weren't even a thought. They weren't even a thought yet. Not even a blip on the radar. Right? And it's because the Moors were handling their own affairs. Right? There was no need for them. Like when they say the Sultan of Morocco signed the treaty of whatever, he was acting on behalf of the Moors. Because the Moors fell. Don't forget, the Moors were the puppet master. But they had two puppets, one on each hand. And one puppet was the United States Republic jurisdiction, these Europeans that came over here. And the other puppet was the Sultan, who was really descendant of ancient Moabites as well. But if the heir isn't making himself known, then the next one in line is the one that's gonna get the chair. Right? If the heir doesn't stand up, if there's a king and the king dies and the heir doesn't stand up and say, yeah, I'm the prince, then the next guy's coming who's behind him to take that position of prince. If the prince doesn't stand up and say, yeah, I'm the next in line. And then that's what everybody does to Negro black colored people. Jump in their seat when they're supposed to jump up and say, yeah, I'm the whatever. Somebody else is jumping up saying, I'm the whatever. And Negro black colored go with whatever whoever jumped up and said. Because they have mentality of children and don't know how to cry for help. They just know how to cry. They don't know how to talk or anything like that. All they know is just open their mouth, sound comes out, and it's gonna get me a bottle or, food or somebody pick me up or whatever. That's all they know. Wardship mentality.
That's the same as when we talked about ex parte.
Right. Right? Somebody handling your affairs for you. Because you don't want to handle your affairs yourself. Minority. Minor. Ward.
And then you have the with the soldier-free Moors. Then you talk about that as far as them and the Negro Act.
Right. So.
1790.
So making a claim of distinction between different statuses is not something new. So this is not a new idea that Moors today are talking about. This is not something that we just started doing just because we figured this out in 1913. Right? We've been telling people that we're not Negroes. That's what the soldier-free Moors are about. Subjects of the Emperor of Morocco challenging the jurisdiction and letting the jurisdiction know that we're subjects of the Emperor of Morocco. Do not try us under any Negro Acts if we get in trouble. That's the same thing that Moors are saying. Don't try us under color of law. We have a nationality. It's the exact same argument. being made by the exact same people. Sundry free Moors. And then there's Moors today. Hundreds of years later. Still fighting that same fight. So this is bigger than birth certificates. Because there was no birth certificates during sundry free Moors. Right? Ford bonds and all that. Because as Moorish subjects, somebody who is a foreigner that created an act to govern slaves can't be the one to say who's a slave and who's not a slave. Because they'll put everybody in slavery. They'll say everybody's a slave. Everybody who dark skin or whatever, they fall under this act. They don't have any power. They're immigrants. And they're immigrants without papers.
Where's your green card?
How is an immigrant that doesn't even have a green card going around in land that's not theirs talking about they're the government and people are listening to them when they say I'm the American and the American is the immigrant? And people go for it. People go for
it. Make up a song and everything with the allegiance to the banner.
Right? And they admit in the allegiance that it's a banner. And all these people go around calling this thing a flag when in the allegiance it says banner there.
People never pay attention to the small subtleties of wordplay.
Nope. Because they were never taught. They were never taught to read. That's
the Republic.
Right.
Right, yeah.
The demos.
And to the Republic. And everybody's talking about democracy.
Mm-hmm. Treason.
Right? But you know, it's generations of lies and brainwash and you know what I mean? Everything else. You know, it's generations of this that have gotten to people to that point where they don't even think anymore. They don't even think. Everything has to be delivered to their mind for them to do something. They're not able to think. And unthinking people are dead.
Yeah.
Unthinking people are zombies.
That's why they put all them zombie movies out.
That's why they're putting them out. Telling people. Right?
Walking Dead.
Telling people what they are. And they don't even want to hear it.
What about motu proprio?
Yeah.
That the Pope not so long ago enacted.
Yeah. Because remember the Pope was just making a claim that we're not protecting none of you criminals anymore. Like, that's basically what he was saying. We're not protecting you criminals anymore. All you people who want to do criminal stuff out there, we're not protecting you. Especially if you say that you're government or whatever.
And then some people are under the whatever that the Pope and that the Vatican is not tied into everything.
I mean, you just look at you just go to their house and look at the Roman on the wall that has hair like wool and skin like burnt brass. It's impossible. They can't say that they're not, that the Vatican's not in everything. The acts that these people are creating comes from canon law, which is the Pope's. Like all the acts that they're talking about, that they act for this, act for that, and the people are following these acts, and well, this act came out and we have to, whatever, support this act or whatever. That's canon law.
The Bible is even written on canon law.
Right?
Everything from the times in there, 10 days for this, 3 days for that.
Yep.
It's all in the Bible.
Right? All these court fees, administration fees, and library fees, this fee, that fee, all that's canon law. You know what I mean? But then, keep in mind, Pope might be going around doing craziness, but he has the authority from the King of Freising to do that.
From where?
The King of Freising. The Moor on the banner that the Pope goes around with. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the authority. So he holds up the banner and nobody's paying attention to that. And then they start talking about, the Pope is so powerful and the Pope is because of the banner. That's why the banner is everywhere. And he can't do anything without that banner. Because that banner is what gives him the authority, because there's a Moor on the banner.
And that's the Moor brother with the
crown. With the crown.
Yeah.
Right? The Moor wearing the crown.
Because he's walking around with a Moor on a banner, or because he actually was allegedly given some authority.
No, that's the authority. It's like that's the flag, right? The shield that he walks around with the Moor on it and the bear and whatever. That's the authority. That's the charter. That's the delegation of authority order for him to do whatever it is that he's doing. And why is he doing it? Because the Moors in Germany dropped their stuff. The Moors in Italy dropped their stuff. They didn't pick it up. They want to be Christians and Catholics and whatever. So they lost their birthright. And then somebody else picked it up, and now they're running the world with their birthright. Because they don't want it. And then they're going to say, the black popes and the evil men eating children and all this type of stuff. Yeah, but they're doing that with your birthright. They're not doing that just because, they like to eat children. They're doing that because they have access to a birthright that's not theirs, that gives them the authority to do whatever it is that they want to do, even if it's inhumane. Because they're using the authority of the Moors to do it. Because the Moors don't want any authority. The Moors want to be slaves. The Moors don't want to build boats and ride the Mississippi. The Moors want to come over here from a slave ship. Right? Like Taj said, this is not the degree of fish sandwich. This is the degree of fishing pole. So if you don't know how to fish, you're not eating. Because there's not no microwavables going on around here. You gotta go put the worm on the hook, go out there, sit on the dock or the whatever, and cast your line or your net. And go catch dinner. Because I'm hungry. You got no McDonald's out here, you're gonna go get some fast food at. We have to scale fish, cut heads off, de-gut fish, cut tails off and all that. Before we do all that, we gotta know how to catch fish. Right?
You want to jump to the table without even knowing how to catch it.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You got the handkerchief in the neck and all that. You know what I mean? Oil burning out in the pot and all that. And you're talking about where's dinner? You got a fork in your hand and a plate in front of you.
No fish.
No fish. You know what I mean? No. But it's just know that it's coming around. It's not the little oh yeah, I heard about Moors. Now you talk to people, they know about Moors. They know who Moors are. They at least know about 7-Eleven and 1492 and all that. Then you talk to people now, they know about birth certificate fraud, driver's license fraud. All capital letters, the bond and the birth certificate. They know things right now. People are waking up. There's Moors, there's Moors in the UK. There's Moors contacting from the UK, New Zealand, Alaska. Moors are looking for information, so we're in a great place right now, and it's just for us to.
That's gonna be us.
Yeah. Because remember, even Drew Ali said, I don't know what all these Moors are doing here, because there's only going to be a handful saved that I could have fingers left over and all that. So not everybody's going to make it. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
But it is what it is. And it's nothing that we're really going to change right now. It is what it is. Right? We can halt some stuff, but we're not going to stop what's coming. You're not stopping the tsunami. Most of all, we can just get whoever's capable to get to the highest point possible.
I'm thinking about what you were saying about them with the baby eaters and everything. They still doing it right now, sucking us alive.
Yeah.
These and all, sucking the life out of you.
Yeah. And then
all our energy.
Yeah, and then making melatonin pills. Right?
Yeah. I'm still thinking about that, working every day and not getting paid.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Working every day and not getting paid.
But it's like for example, right? Like with what I do, right? My pay is the people in the community who I serve out of my job, not my boss. Right? Like the community is my boss because I work for them. And the payment of thank yous and my son had a good time at camp and whatever, that payment is worth any fiat that these people give me. It's just our perspective of what we do. Perspective of where we're at. There might be individual at your workplace who you know, that individual got something for you, and that's really why you're there. You're not even there for the paycheck that you're getting. No matter how big the paycheck is. You could be there just because there's this person there that's supposed to impact your life in some kind of way. You know? Because it's crazy when you know, digest the whole fiat thing and you've never been paid, ever. Any job that you had. You know what I mean? Never ever been paid, ever. Nobody ever gave me gold or silver for any labor that I did. You know, yeah, it's a lot. But, you know, we were born into this. So we kinda, you know, we'll just make do with where we're at. You know.
Brother Cujo?
Yeah, fam.
Sorry to interrupt.
All good.
Just let you know, we'll run all day. But I picked up the newbie today, and I have to have her home by a certain time.
Yeah, for sure. We already know how it goes. And we started a little late, but if anything, we'll convene next week, if anything.
I'm with that.
So yeah, so we can make up for today.
Yeah, we missed a couple, so I'm with that.
Yeah, right. So so we'll just close out with the prayer and you know, good session as usual. It was short today, but we still got some stuff out there. You know. So we'll close out 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, through His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. And happy holy day to the Moors.
Same to you, brother. I'm gonna have to contact you. Probably tomorrow. I got some stuff I want to kick it with you about.
All right, no problem.
Okay.
All right, we'll connect soon.
All
right, peace, Moors.
He was that's not in the Bible.
Right.
Okay.
Just like one of the phrase that Noah Jirali had said, well, don't throw away your Bible because I'm going to use it
To condemn the European?
exactly. So Bible is part of it.
Okay.
But now you see what they're doing with the Bible is they're trying to before the Bible was the book, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And now they're trying to make it as a hate literature
Yes.
Hate literature?
Yes.
because they know what's coming.
Yes.
So they try to put it out there before the masses start thinking. So before the Bible was the word, right?
Right.
Nobody went against that. Whether you were a Muslim, whatever, you didn't go against the Bible.
But
Nowadays it's hate literature.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, hate literature?
Like, you know, they're condemning homosexuals and condemning this and condemning that. So they want you to look at the Bible as, it's a joke, it's outdated. Why? Because the truth is there to crush them. And they don't want people to start to wake up, right?
Okay.
You gotta see things now. Before you see it here, you gotta see it over there.
That's right.
When you see someone tell you something,
You don't want that?
you gotta think, okay, hold on a second. What is he really trying to tell me?
Only price for me.
I love you, brother, but my eyes show
Don't
you
say
I
that.
don't. You gotta see that.
That's
You
right.
got to.
That's right.
You got to. So this is what these people are all about, right? So it's the Muslims threw the plane into the building. But you're not seeing the Moorish Science Temple. You're not seeing the connection.
Yeah, of course I am.
No, at that time,
Oh, at that
you
time.
weren't seeing that connection.
No.
Right? If the whole world is stuck on Muslim terrorists, they're not going to make a difference
Well,
between
but
us and them.
actually, yeah, around that time I started to see how they started to defame religion because everybody recently is on the spiritual tip. And the thing is, okay, you can be spiritual, but you can't be spiritual without religion. The two go hand in hand. What I tell people is the difference between religion and culture. They've made culture out of the words, out of religion. Because to me, there's nothing wrong with reading the Quran or nothing wrong with reading the Bible. The religion there is good, but it's your culture you make out of.
But what is the
these
real
books.
religion, though? What is real religion? Real religion is only cosmology.
Well, even
And,
that.
and they've made it into personal,
So they made it
so
into
they can hold you as a prisoner,
So
as a
they made
slave.
so like I'm saying, they made it into cults, cultures. So there's nothing wrong with the religion. They're just making it into
But the people don't know that.
No, yeah, but we're not talking about the people. We're talking about just
Okay.
us in general. Like we
But
know.
But that's what we have to ask. What is religion?
Well, we know what religion is,
Yes.
right?
No, I brought that up what you were saying because
Lies.
when they're trying to
Schoolwork.
get something or get the masses not to think,
Schoolwork.
they're not gonna do it tomorrow. They're gonna do it 10 years ahead, where you don't see the connection
True.
until the day comes. You're like, hold on a second. The plane, they flew the planes in the building, right? And then they brought up Homeland Security, right? All of a sudden, the Homeland Security Act was passed. But if you read Willie Lynch, Homeland Security was already in place.
Yeah.
See, but no one makes that connection. It's just that the Homeland Security is an extension of that.
Yeah. It's just like when people say the New World Order's coming in. The New World Order's been here,
But it's not the New World Order, it's the old order.
or whatever you
That's
want
what
to
it
call
is,
it.
but they want to dominate it. Right, what I'm saying?
Same thing with the religion. The religions are what they push as the religion or the culture or whatever comes from something more ancient than what they wrote down.
Right. But if you wouldn't know that, you would think you're looking at the Pope or the priest and he's the greatest thing in the world. Well, it's the truth.
Right.
When the masses are sheep, it's easy to control. The shepherd just puts his rod down and the sheep scatter, right?
Yeah.
But
for
if
sure.
the sheep, if everybody's thinking, he has no sheep.
Well, that has to do with your choice as an individual.
No, you can't say that now. You can't. Because if some people, I was brought up to go to church, but I've always been the rebel in my family. In their eyes,
Well, you know why?
we're a church, whatever. Church,
Well,
that's all bullshit. Excuse my language.
you know why.
Yeah, but that's what
Simply
you said.
because-
It's not for everybody though.
True. But what I'm saying, that boils down to the individual taking the time to be honest with himself. Like when I would go to church, I'd read the Bible, I'd read Jesus, and none of this shit made sense. It didn't add up to me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to make myself make it add up. And it did not connect with me. Even I'm just praying. I'm
just doing
Lord,
this because-
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lord, help me see really because I'm telling
But you know
Jesus-
more Lord ain't coming to help.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
But I'll tell you a story about that. Certain people, that in my experience is not true what you guys just said.
Okay.
Because I prayed to so-called Jesus to come. And when
Right.
Jesus came, in my eyes, I thought it was Jesus coming.
Right.
Because at that point, I didn't know. So I said, Jesus, and something actually did come.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it wasn't Jesus though. But I said, Jesus, if you're with me, da-da-da-da. Something came.
And what-
Physically, something came. And I said, whoa. And then, now, obviously, I know it's not.
Right.
But it wasn't a freak out thing. It wasn't like, oh my God. No, it was just like, okay, because I've always been searching for truth. I don't care what the truth is.
Right.
I want the truth.
Right.
So I've always, okay, when I found out, well, that wasn't Jesus, that was just the spirit of your ancestors or your great grandmother coming to comfort you because of that. I can respect that,
Most definitely.
right? And then move on,
Most definitely.
right? But the brainwashing out there is a lot different than what you're talking about. It's a lot different. These people, I got, like I said, all sisters. My sister used to come in now.
Right.
She only comes because of me.
Right.
I never told her to come.
Of course.
She sees how I am,
Right.
that I won't budge.
Yeah.
All my other sisters, my mother's cool too, but she's older, she can't get down here.
Right.
All my other sisters are into church,
Right.
and they know that I'm not budging.
Yeah.
She sees that,
But that
and says, okay, well, I'm coming because
not
he's on this, so let me be on it too.
not to disagree with you. What I'm saying is that's why I honestly believe it boils down to the person's choice. You have to sit down with yourself and be fully honest with yourself and say, does this reside with me? No, it doesn't. Okay, if it doesn't, I ain't gonna be prosecuted from the creator for not following this.
How do you know that?
Because you got
If you have that mindset, no, if you can't say that.
Because you
can't
remember
say
too
that.
you're speaking from already crossing that bridge.
Right.
And looking back at the bridge like, well,
Right.
yeah, if you just hop over that
Right.
or whatever, then you're
Right.
not gonna fall through the hole.
Right.
But the person who's coming to the bridge,
Right.
right? And they think, and they don't even know that that's a bridge. They think that that's
That's right.
whatever,
That's right.
right? They're looking at you on the other side like,
You're crazy. You're going to hell.
You mean you didn't?
Is it right or wrong? Am I right or
Whatever,
wrong?
before you
Yes,
crossed the
do a
bridge,
lot
you
of
just
fear.
went across it like that or
That's
whatever.
how they drop it to you, right?
But that's
you
what I'm
do this, you're
saying.
going to hell.
You
And
have to
believe
be
you're going to
honest
hell.
with yourself.
Yeah,
And
but-
that's why I was able to get over that bridge, because I started to ask myself, thyself, honest questions. The reason why people are not able to get over that bridge and not able to come out of that circle is because they are dependent on the validation from somebody else instead of looking within and saying,
Right.
this
Yeah.
doesn't
I
resolve
don't-
me.
This doesn't make sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I sat down. I remember sitting down in my crib, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this just don't make sense to me. I'm not gonna push it. I'm not gonna stress it, and I'm not gonna."
Yeah, but it's like, but then it comes back to the same thing. Like, if we think about those people, right?
Mhm.
Now they're gonna forget about all the questions that they have
Right.
in the book, whether they understand, don't understand, or whatever, right? But if Revelation says skin like burnt brass, and then they have a European on their wall, right?
Yeah.
Then that's not they didn't get it.
Right.
There's something else that's blocking them from seeing what is actually going on and what's, you know what I mean?
So that's themselves.
Because it says, I'm saying that it's more that they don't even have any control over whether they, like how you had control, like how Brother Raphael had control,
Right.
you know, how I had control to say, okay, you know what, we're gonna make a choice, like the Matrix, so it's up to choices.
Right.
You're
Right.
gonna make a choice. Either you're gonna whatever, or you're gonna whatever. In between or whatever. Either you make a choice.
Right.
If you decide not to wake up or whatever, then you're gonna have to live with whatever comes with not waking up.
And that's my point. It's up to the individual. You yourself, to me, just my point, just my opinion, you yourself have to sit down with thyself and ask. They're not doing that. They're letting people speak for their mind. You have to get into your own subconscious and let your subconscious be you. You can't let people because other people will try to throw thoughts that are not your thoughts onto you. And that's what happens within that circle.
But brother, don't they do that? Don't they do that every day though?
Well,
In every day, everywhere of life, they do that.
but that's my
How
point.
you
I'm not
dress.
disagreeing with that.
No, I'm saying what they do it like how you dress, what kind of music you smoke, you don't smoke. Your friend gets his head blown off right in front of you, and you can't go and tell because you'll be considered a snitch.
Right.
People are brainwashing you every day,
Most definitely.
right? So I understand what you're saying. I understand that. What I'm saying is, 99% of the people out there are not thinking like that.
Well,
We're on a different plateau.
Trust me, they're not.
True.
They're
We're on a
thinking,
different
you know,
plateau. We're not people who come through this door or whatever. They're on a different level than the average person. Like eons away from the average person's mindset. You know?
look when we were trying to talk to the brother, the Indian brother at the sushi place there.
Yeah, I seen them yesterday.
You see them, man?
They look like their energy is a little shifted.
This Indian brother I'm trying to explain to him about the house. It says, okay, my father has a house in Richmond Hill. Are you trying to tell me he doesn't own it? I'm like, no, he doesn't. Does he have the allodial title to the home? He's like, what? I'm like, if you're saying what to me, no, he
So
doesn't.
obviously he doesn't.
He's like, what do you mean? He bought it. We didn't have a mortgage. He bought it. I'm like, does he pay property tax? He's like, yeah.
Then he doesn't know.
But he
it.
doesn't own it.
Of course.
He's like,
Of course.
what?
Yeah.
Like they can't.
Block.
Yeah, they can't get over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, block.
Because
They can't get over there.
because they don't want to. And
No, it's not because they don't want
No,
to.
it's not they don't
It's just
want
because that's what they've grown in. They're brainwashed into that. So you have to come with something like a gun to their head and say, okay, listen to what I'm trying to tell you. I'm gonna blow your head off because they're not gonna listen.
True.
Because
But
huh?
Because remember that when fears push at those people, right? They either do one or two things. They're either gonna feed off the fear and kick fear's ass, or they're gonna succumb to the fear.
Thank you so much, brother. That's why I'm telling everybody,
Right.
look, they don't want to, because you're always able to have the ability to change whatever you want to change. So if you want to say, okay, you know what, fuck this, what are you talking about, or blah, 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 you can find out that information. You can find out that information. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have, quote unquote, free men on the land, in a sense, too. Look at them people. Those people, in a sense, they're, quote unquote, rebellious, even though they're infiltrating the Moors a bit. They're still on the frequency where I'm not taking this shit. I ain't no nigger on this. Like, their frequency is still there because they've made that choice to say, look, this stuff around me ain't right, and it doesn't feel good. I talk to your people.
They also have a better understanding of history and things like that to give them that extra push to not just sit back and just be passive, docile, and
that's right.
You know what I mean? Take whatever abuse that comes.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Right? There's a deeper thing as far as our people are concerned going on.
Right.
It's not just that idea that, well, they don't want to do whatever.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because I guarantee that the majority of them, if they wanted to, or if they could, they would.
See,
Right?
well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like,
if they could, right? But there's something that's there
mm-hmm.
that's blocking our people from accepting the reality of what.
And to me, that's them.
Of what it is.
What?
It's themselves.
You think
Because-
it's themselves? So we're not living in a world of witches and warlocks?
Yeah, we are.
Right?
So they're not getting spelled? They're not even put spells on them?
You can, of course, but I'm saying you can break that. There's nothing that can hold you down. You have to
Yeah,
make
you
that.
can say that. That's what I'm
what I'm
saying.
saying.
That
You
that
can.
you're in a
Oh,
Different stage. Right.
you're on a different plane
for
than
sure.
those people. Even when you were a dumb nigger, you were on a different plane than those people.
Right.
Thanks.
You know what I mean? Right? It's like
Still sounding bad.
yeah, it's like when you think about like, okay, like back in the day, like I was a drinker, right?
Yeah.
Okay, never crashed a car drinking. I know enough people that crash cars, like crash cars, total cars,
Yeah.
from a beer or whatever.
Right.
Like we would stumble into the car, carrying me to the car, throwing me in the front seat or whatever to go drive.
And you drive home safe.
Yeah, drive home, made it home. I might not remember.
Yeah.
I dropped everybody off or whatever like that. You know, most times, 80% of the time, go out, party's over, and I wake up in my bed the next morning.
Real talk.
And I don't know how everybody got home. Everybody got dropped off front of their door.
Real talk.
Go outside, cars parked, everything's, you know, like, nobody never stopped me or nothing like that. No swerving on the street or whatever. So there must be some type of higher, because I know for myself personally that I wasn't in the frame of mind to be behind the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Get the pen
Yes,
Right?
right.
and
Yep.
write.
But even something still made me go behind the wheel, even though I knew, like, I'm sitting at the wheel like,
You
shit,
finish, now.
about to go do this now.
Right.
Like looking out the figure, like, you know, 5 cars are passing by you in a blur and shit like that.
Right.
You know?
So you do it, I.
Like people are passing by or whatever, and you know, it's 2 people when it's 1 person,
That's right.
right? But still not behind the wheel,
See? You're
Still-
scratching.
drove,
Did your thing.
still made it wherever. You know what I mean? You know, even
Are you chicken?
realizing that, hold on a second, something's different,
Take your time. Just
right? Something's
go
different. That
take your time.
I'm gonna just get in the car, and so we started testing it out, see how real it is. Let's get mashed and just drive and just see if there's really something going on. Let's get more mashed than last week. Right? Let's get more mashed than last week. And let's
Exactly.
take the ride and let's go see. really what's going on. You know what I mean? And there was one time that I remember. There was one time I remember waking up behind the wheel, going down the wrong way. One time I remember. Right? And that was like during the transition of getting into consciousness and leaving the dead stuff. Right? So that was like probably like one of my like last drinks or whatever. One of the last nights that we did the drinking, go clubbing or whatever.
You said forget about it after
When was
Yeah,
that?
and after that was, you know, because I woke up and you're going down the wrong street. I'm like, shit,
Yeah.
You're going on the wrong
I'm
street.
going down the wrong side of the road right now. You know what I mean? Even though I would have probably went, you know, got to
Wherever
the
you need
light,
to go.
you know what I mean? Made a turn from the other side of the freaking thing or whatever like that. Regardless of what, right? The whole thing is that there was something that was that now that I'm in consciousness.
That's right.
And I look back to back then. There was something why I never seen in jail before, why I never been that much less have handcuffs on. We're in the street, we did dirt.
That's right. That's right.
Right? And never got touched. Ever. Never, ever, ever.
How long ago was that?
So I guess it goes
Just
back.
like
Yeah.
just
Okay.
back in the day.
I see what y'all saying. I see
know
what
what I
y'all
mean?
saying.
No, but you're saying that there was a period of time that you then, that was the last point that you did that.
Yeah, that was like
Only reason I'm doing that is because,
99, 2000 or something
okay,
like
so
that.
I'm looking for hope for me.
Yeah. Real talk.
Yeah.
Real
You know what I
talk.
mean?
No hope in God, just do.
No, I don't mean in that sense. I just mean to see what the
Because
path was.
there's,
And,
you know, there's people who were there. You know, when certain stuff going on and they might have got locked up. They did time for something or whatever like that.
For sure.
Crashed their whip or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that just never
Touch.
touched,
Yeah.
right? And we were around people. We were around people, you know, moving 8 balls and shit like that.
Real talk.
Every time you go outside, you're moving 8 ball,
That's right. That's right.
right? Guys in the Ferrari coming and stuff like that to come buy whatever.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And they've
course.
never seen like nothing whatsoever. There must be some higher thing going on.
I think so.
That held me, right? That made me get through the thing. So if there's a higher thing that could hold me to get through, then there's a lower thing that could hold them and keep them from getting through.
Right. You know what? I agree with both y'all. And just to add on, if it is added on to what you're saying, but you were always receptive. Like how you're saying, even when you were a dumb nigger, you were still up there, right? So even when I was
Not because I wasn't conscious of it.
no,
I wasn't conscious of it. Now looking back,
you see,
I can see that okay, there was something going on. But during that time, I didn't know.
right.
It was just, oh, I woke up in my bed this morning. All right, freaking didn't crash car last night, so you know, we'll go drinking again tomorrow night. You know what I mean? Oh, you woke up the next. All right, well, hey, didn't crash the car, so next week it's on again.
For
You know what I'm
sure.
saying?
Yeah.
Right? No, but it was only getting to this stage,
That you
and
can
in
look back.
hindsight, you know, looking back, you say, hold on a second, this guy did the squeeze,
And nothing hit.
nothing hit. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're
Something's
saying.
definitely going on.
For sure. Yeah.
Something's definitely going on.
Most
Like
definitely.
that, right?
Most
So
definitely.
with the people who aren't there,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It's something that has them. There's some force or whatever, right?
Mm.
That exists that's holding those people from being where we're at.
Yeah. I see exactly what you're
Cause
saying.
for me, I'm like where you're at. Yo, you have a choice. Either you're gonna what? Because I came from dirt.
That's
and
right.
If I come out of dirt, then you should be able to come out of dirt.
It's exactly what I'm
But-
saying. Same thing.
It's not really going like that. Because there's witchcraft and sorcerers and
Mm-hmm.
all these things that, you know, we don't know
Keeping you in the dirt.
what's going on, but those things are keeping certain people on that level.
And some people, they actually, that's how they strive, right? They
Right.
strive by the dirt. You know what I mean?
Like how you showed me about Homeboy.
Yeah, but like I knew a woman from Ottawa, Albion. I won't take long, quick story. And she, similar to what you were saying, she was rich, and then she lost, made a couple bad deals. A couple guys robbed her, and she lost like 2.5 million. So I went to the house and stayed and spent the weekend with her. And I fell asleep, and I was seeing all kind of stuff down the basement that she has down the basement. She had like it looked like a giant bat sleeping on her beam in the basement. So I'm like, what the hell? But like I'm used to that. So I said to her, how'd you make your money? She just started, I did business, da. And she just can't. She's been robbed so many times. She's losing money. She knows what's going on. I said, okay, I can do my thing. She said, okay, you do it. So I did it. A week later, she lost the house. Well, a week after that, the so-called giant bat came to my house. But as a man, came through the door. Me and my sister were sitting in the living room. Came in. His head was down. He was sad. And I told my sister, just open the door and let him out. Mm-hmm. And he walked out, and he just kicking the dirt, right? Because the reason why I brought it up, because like that's how she was making her money,
Right.
and she didn't even know. So maybe her father or her
Somebody
mother
put something
had that
on it.
already there, right? So when I came in and I cleaned up the house, he couldn't stay there anymore.
Right,
So
right.
the money was gone.
Right.
Like I said, these things I tell you about is not fantasy what I'm thinking.
I know.
It's true life experience I'm trying to show you. So when he's saying that you can't think that, okay, why aren't these guys opening up? Why aren't they? Come on, make a decision. No, you got spirits, you got things holding them that they think this is reality. Realistically, it's not. Or some that know, and they're not giving up what they got.
I mean,
Right?
it even likens to the fact that even with a university student, university students, they read a lot. They use dictionaries and they get information from the dictionaries.
True.
You have a discussion with them in regards to what we're talking about, and you say to them, listen, don't take my word for it, go read it in the dictionary. But when you hear university students say, well, all the stuff written in the dictionary is not all true, and you're in third year of university, there's got to be something wrong there.
Right.
I mean, it's either they don't want to hear what you're telling them, or what you're telling them, it goes against everything that they've ever done, and they're going to be wrong.
So then, I exactly what you're saying. So to add on to what y'all was saying,
I was looking for a.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true on both sides.
Yeah.
Because then
they don't want to know.
it's a force
Yeah.
holding them, but then you thyself are choosing not to be receptive to it.
True.
So it goes on both
Yeah,
sides.
absolutely.
You know.
But see, that's the whole point in regards to everything that we're trying to get across to people, is that this is your birthrights. If you don't want it, it's your choice. It's a
Exactly.
choice.
Right.
Whether you want to believe me or not. It's written. If you don't want it, it's your choice.
Very true.
Don't complain when you get your ass kicked.
Very true. But they don't want it, is what I'm saying. That's how I feel. But I could
and
be
if
wrong.
they don't want it,
If they don't want it,
that's
they don't
cool.
want it.
what are you
Yeah.
gonna
What's
do
it,
if they
what's
don't
it
want
to you?
True. True. Oh, I really don't care.
You know what I'm saying?
Pardon
They
me?
don't even know what they want, though. Like, you're trying to tell them,
True.
it's like,
Yeah,
it's just
you
going
and
right
that.
by their heads. They can't even see what you're trying to show them they should want, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then it's like there's a whole fear when they try to like go into things, like some people might try to like research the knowledge. And then they see a little bit of something, like they go read up what 666 means.
Right.
They're like, okay, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 protons.
Right.
And then after they go, they
go back to
page,
church.
and it's like, oh snap, no devil, and they go back straight to
Yeah.
the devil.
Same thing.
And
I
it's just
told-
right back. They just get the last just
I
pulls
told a
right
friend
back.
that last night when I was walking with him. He's a young dude, and he's from, I believe, Dominica. He speaks Spanish, Latin, everything, right? So I keep telling him about his nationality and stuff like that, but he's so in church. I go like this, look, don't be scared of numerology, 666. I told him 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. brother looked at me like this. Oh, yo, the dude got spooked when I said that shit. Should have seen his eyes. He was like, "Holy shit, you got this guy."
And then how come he got spooked? Because he got game
Yes.
into thinking that, you know, 666 is something other than Adam.
666.
You gotta marinate.
Like,
You know?
you know what I mean?
When they're going into these things, they have to like marinate in it and just keep rising after.
Plant the
it,
seed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not even doing that. They're not even trying to marinate it. Nothing.
They don't care.
You know what I mean?
No, they don't care. You know, I hear both. Yeah, I hear both. Both gods are saying. You know.
Like sure, like when like in Cuba, like they have like they deal with a lot of
Witchcraft over there.
well, I don't call it really witchcraft, but it's like
So it's our
Obatala
science.
and Oshun and all
Science.
those things. They deal. You guys know what
Yeah.
Obatala?
Yeah.
They're deep into that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And but they have church,
Right.
so they all have the cross. They all have a chain with a cross on, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have their beads with them, right?
Mhm.
And
Like the sister that comes here.
yeah, they're seriously into that. They're intertwined in that.
Right.
Now, to come and tell them about birthright and nationality,
Not even.
you have to break the Christianity plus that. That ain't happening.
No.
So you're gonna wait for another maybe 100, 200 years to get down. When I mean brainwash,
Uh-huh.
And then the fact
They're
that
brainwashed.
they're even on Christianity as an option shows how deep their brainwash
yeah,
is.
like they're gone.
The fact that they're on Christianity, the fact that people say, okay, yeah, I'm proud to be Christian or whatever, Jesus is my savior or whatever,
Yeah, well.
right? Like, you know how deep our brainwash they are? Just for the simple fact that there's not even nothing called Christianity and they're following something some guy told them.
Most definitely.
Like there's no thing called Christianity. Like there's not a religion called that.
That's right.
Like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, they're lost.
But you know, it exists to them.
Yeah.
You know, just like, you know, fiat's not money.
Yeah.
Everybody believes. But yeah, you know, I got thousands in the bank, so I got money.
You ain't got shit.
They don't got
I
nothing.
mean, just as deep with when you mentioned Jesus is that even Jesus said, "Follow me." God damn it, don't follow me. Like, look within yourself.
That's
It's
what
within you.
That's what I keep telling them.
You know,
That's
Jesus says it. Don't follow me, but everybody's following him.
Yeah.
Because they made a religion for everybody to follow.
This one was the one on
He didn't make it happen.
the silence.
They did,
Exactly.
Silence of man.
right?
What?
And then
Like even metaphysics. What? You heard metaphysics? I have a book.
he was talking about
12 Powers of Man.
What?
12 Powers of Man teaches you about. I think everybody should grab that book. It's cheap. You
What?
get it. Maybe $5. 12 Powers of Man talks to you about
This is better than how I did it.
everything. I have my mom read it.
We all know.
My mom, she's into the more science stuff. But she can't get, she read the book and she couldn't get over it. She couldn't get the fact that, so hold on, the Christ is in you? Like, well, yeah, it's been in you all this time.
Yeah.
You just never,
Tapped
you
into
just
it.
never asked, you never talked to it.
Right.
You got on your knees and prayed because someone told you to.
That's
And,
right.
she can read Noble Drawley and she's into the nationality and everything, but she can't get over the fact that,
Allah and man are one.
yeah, she can't. She's like, what?
Real
Like,
talk.
yeah, mom, this is what it's all about. Like, you've been in all this time, you just didn't know.
Yeah.
No, she can't. But she everything else with the movement, yeah, but not that. Because it's so ingrained in her. Yeah.
You gotta see it as yourself, you know. Those are the type of things that, like, yeah, you actually need to take time with yourself and see for yourself. Like, just like know that Allah man's one. You know what I mean? That's something you have to see in your own head. You can't just read it off a book and be like,
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I mean?
So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like-
Where you have to sit down by yourself
Yeah.
and make the choice and say, okay, because people are not being honest with themselves. They don't. I bet you 90% of them don't even believe what they're reading.
Right.
They're just not. They're just going along with it because it's the norm. But if you're really honest with yourself and you're like, well, this doesn't make sense. 1 + 1 does not equal 14.
Yeah,
You
but what
know?
I'm saying is, how do you know 1 + 1 = 2 though?
Because it's right there.
Yeah, but how do you know?
Because it's right there.
Okay. I'm trying to tell you something what I know. I'm trying to tell you something what I do know. I went inside one time and asked a question. The answer came up. I ran downstairs to the computer to check because I didn't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the answer. Where'd that come from? It didn't come from my eyesight.
Okay.
It came from knowledge. Eyesight. Remember, the first thing how the ego gets you
Right.
is with the eyes, eh?
True.
Okay, understand that. So we've been taught all this. I'm not saying that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. What I'm saying is, how do you know? Have you ever proved it? They're telling you that this is that, so you believe that. That's what you've been taught. It's the same thing with the Christianity. They've been taught.
Right.
Now you can come with them and tell them the sky's green. They're looking up there and they've seen the sky's green, but they've been taught that the sky's gray.
Right.
Just look up. But they're like, you know what? The sky's gray. What are you telling me? My grandfather taught me this. Buddy, just open up, just put your head up and look.
Because you're not being honest with yourself. You're
But I'm
not
saying
being honest
it
with
goes
yourself.
both ways. But I'm saying it's the brainwash. I can hear what you're saying too about yes.
You gotta
but-
be honest with yourself.
True, but it's the brainwashing also. That's deep.
Yeah. No.
It's deep.
No. Nobody ain't saying that they're not. We obviously know that they're brainwashed deep. That's why they're in that state of mind that they're in. But what I'm saying is, if they want to get out of it, I don't really care. But I'm just saying, if they want to get out of it, be honest with yourself. Ask yourself honorable and honest questions to thyself, and you'll get the answers. You know.
And they want to say, what am I going to get in return? Because now remember, you're taking away their whole foundation.
Right.
What are you going to fight with?
I'll say you'll see. That's for you to see.
But see, this is what I'm trying to tell you. For you, you're strong. You can deal with that.
You can see.
The brothers in here can deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
People up there, they can't deal with that, bro.
There's you had
Well, I just had a comment or thing to make when you were talking, because I missed, I guess, when I was out, the conversation about your younger days when something was guiding you. And in one of these, and I still have to get you, well, I have the book, but it's, Karisman writes this book called The Gospel of Hip Hop. And what it talks about is he talks about your 40-year-old self looking after your 20-year-old self.
Right.
It talks about your 10-year-old self looking after your 20-year-old self. So that basically, your timeline, you may think that you're living in this timeline right here, right now, but there is the older you who has looking back, and he's been passing information back to you to make sure that you make the right steps. There's been the younger you at 10 years old who has been doing things to make sure that you get
to
where you need to go, so that there's things on both sides that are guiding you through that. And you know, and that's where that comes to it, about the sort of the spirits that we look in there. Somewhere in there, your spirit has been guarding you.
Right.
But within that dynamic, the spirit of God or Allah is in you, and that you just have to, like you guys have been trying to say, have to connect to it. But in this chapter here, this is the one that, because I read this every day.
Chapter 12.
Circle 7?
No,
Red
it's
book.
the red book. It's right there.
Secret Brotherhood of the East, Silent Brotherhood of the East, Silent Brother of the East, Brotherhood of the East.
I wonder if I wonder if it would be
Chapter
smart
12.
Are you reading the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
reading
Good. Okay.
Yahshua explains to Casper the meaning of silence and the wisdom of Allah and man. Now in the early morning, Yahshua came again to teach and heal. A light not comprehended shone about as though some mighty spirit overshadowed him. A Magnus noticed this and asked him privately to tell from whence his wisdom came, and what is the meaning of the light. And Yahshua said, there is a silence where the soul may meet its God Allah, and there the fount of wisdom is. And all who enter are immersed in light and filled with wisdom, love, and power. The Magnus said, tell me about this silence and this light, that I may go and there abide. And Yahshua said, the silence is not circumscribed. It is not a place closed in with walls or rocky steeps, nor guarded by the swords of man. Men carry with them all the time the secret place where they meet Allah. It matters not where men abide, on a mountaintop, in the deep vale, on the marts of trade, or in a quiet home. they may at one time fling wide the door of the soul and find the house of Allah.
Now
It
this
is
is-
within the soul.
When you go to the next page, it's
Yeah.
that one.
One may not be so much disturbed by noise of business and words and thoughts of men. It goes all alone into the valley or the mountain pass. And when life's heavy load is pressing hard, it is far better to go out and seek a quiet place to pray and meditate. The silence is the kingdom of the soul, which is not seen by human eyes. Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When in silence,
Here's the
phantom
part.
forms
Here's the part that I
may flit before the mind, but they are all subservient to the will. The master soul may speak and they are gone. If you would find this silence of the soul, you must yourself prepare the way. None but the pure in heart may enter here, and you must lay aside all fears and doubts and troubled thoughts. Your human will be absorbed by love divine. Then you will come into a consciousness of the holy breath. You are within holy place, and you will see upon a living shrine the candle of Allah aflame. And when you see it burning there, look deep within the temple of your brain, and you will see it all aglow. In every part from your head to foot are candles in one place, just waiting to be lighted by the flame torch of love. And when you see the candles all aflame, just look, and you will see with eyes of soul the waters of the fount of wisdom rushing on, and you may drink and there abide. And the curtains apart, and you are where the ark of Allah rests, whose covering is the mercy seat. Fear not to lift the sacred board. The tables of the law are in the ark concealed. Take them and read them well, for they contain all the precepts that man will ever need. And in the ark the magic wand, for they contain all prophecy lies waiting for your hands. It is the key to all the hidden meanings of the present, future, and past. The cherubim have guarded well for every soul this treasure box, and whoever will may enter in and find his own. Now Casper heard the Hebrew master speak, and he exclaimed, Behold, the wisdom of Allah has come to men. And Yahshua went his way, and in the sacred grove of Cyrus was met. He taught and healed the sick. Right? So, two things. In verse 11, when in silence, phantom forms may flit before the mind. Right?
Those to me are the spirits.
Spirits that are working
evil
against
ones. Right.
the people waking up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in 23, the cherubim have guarded well for every soul this treasure box, and whosoever will may enter in and find his own. Which is what you're saying. That it's up to every individual to go within themselves and ask themselves honest questions or whatever and find out the truth
Oh,
so they can evolve.
one last thing, because I've been reading both of these books heavily, and what I've realized, the answer to all of this
See,
is,
sister? Islam.
the answer to all of this, what I realized, it talks about this and in the Holy Quran about purity.
Right.
Purity is the way. And what I've realized,
Yeah, when you realize?
what I realized, realize. What I realized, and I was talking to Amari about this today, that basically, because I was also talking the oral statements about how basically we as Moors have the makings of all the nations of the world in us.
Right.
So that's part of what Taj talks about us being
part
on
of
part of our makeup, unfortunately, and also talked about how the Italians were a nasty bunch,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's because
but
they had
they had
us in them. And and what he talks about is that all of us have that mixture of the animal in us, or the lower self,
the lower self.
and that's why none of us can really speak to being like above anyone else
Right.
in a sense.
So we all have that.
That sort of demon
That-
or something,
that JJ.
right, in us. But what I've noticed and what I've felt, and I was talking to both Amari and Najwa about this, is that to me, I think, okay, in the physical itself is sort of impure to begin with. in a sense.
Right.
Just the pure physical nature, the nature of physicality. But it's the soul and the spirit that are pure.
That keeps it
Which one?
That,
line, yeah.
that keeps it, and,
Which one though?
huh?
Which one?
Which?
Soul or the spirit?
Well, I think the soul, well, I think the spirit is the pure, because that's the holy breath. The soul is what we have in us that connects us to that. The soul is us.
But the soul has to go through. The soul sins also, right?
Sings also?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, sorry, just to, let me hold the thought. What I'm saying is, what I've realized is what they're saying, and this is what I'm trying to work on now, is this purity of thought. Because thought is energy, right? And thought is also Allah. So our thought has to be pure.
Right.
And that is the answer to it, to getting to that next step. It's not thinking about the money. It's not thinking about the car.
Yeah.
It's thinking about Allah. But when we think about all the millions of thoughts that go through our heads all the time, what I find myself is I'm thinking about, oh, look at that, or look, I find myself being really thinking about really base stuff.
Honors to the ancestors and creator or whatever.
Well, that's what I have to be filling my mind with. But when I think about that, I'm probably filling it when I come here.
Right.
Because when I leave here, I'm thinking about getting a chocolate bar, or I'm thinking about getting on the bus, or why that, I'm thinking about all this other stuff that's holding me down. And that's what he talks about. It's the pure, the only way you can get there is through purity.
That's
Get
right.
where?
Get to reach Allah again.
So basically, being honest, like I'm not trying to just,
No.
Well, I don't, you could use,
but coming back to the now is
Right.
what I try to do, right?
right?
When my head gets filled with a whole bunch of things, like okay, I try to turn off the TV as much as I can too, and I try to come back to the now and embrace and appreciate the present for what it is right now. Even if I'm not doing anything, even if I'm just right beside a plant, I'll just embrace the moment and be like, this moment is beautiful, and doing that. So it's like that comes back to what's out here, like the energy and the force that's out here constantly. There's a constant. That energy is constantly like this. So when you're receptive, and it boils down to the foods you eat, right? Because when you're eating foods, your receptors are not as high or not as receptive as it should be. Your chakras are low, everything's low. So that's why they try to alter your DNA by the foods you eat, and that alters your way of thinking. So we got to think like we're water. We're 70 or whatever % water. We should be drinking water through. Even Noble said that.
Yeah.
He said drink a lot of water. Eat a lot of greens. Stick to nature. Same thing Brother Raphael will always tell me. Naja, you eat your greens? Eat your greens. Make sure you're always eating live foods, right? Because we're live, Chocolate bars, the milk and all that stuff, that's there to alter you. Yeah, it's there to keep you in a certain state, and it helps those entities or those evil spirits come into you.
Phantom, whatever.
Phantoms.
Phantom.
It actually helps them easier.
Phantom
come into
forms.
you.
Phantom forms.
Yeah, most definitely.
No, I never read that book.
Right, but you know it for sure.
So I'm trying to tell you. So what I'm saying to you is in here, not out. In here will guide you to go out.
Well, most
But if
definitely.
you're going out first, then you're lost. You're out of order.
Even with Drew Ali saying if Morris could think, they'll save themselves. Which is the same thing. Go inside because he's not thinking out there. Like we're not thinking outside of ourselves.
That's right.
Thinking happens within.
Exactly. And I find a lot more peace when I do that throughout my day. There's a whole bunch of worries that come. Like all the fears, I gotta get this done. When you just slow everything down, and you're just like, you know what? Forget all that. You slow it down, you come into self. Those things just disappear because most of the
They're
stuff
not real.
they're not even important.
Not real.
Right? You're just basing it off of other people's thoughts. I want you to think that's important so I can control you. When it's not even important. You know what I mean? So, yeah, awesome. Pat myself on the back.
Yeah, you learn something.
You know what I'm saying? I learned something today.
About yourself,
Oh, for sure.
right?
Most definitely.
Earlier today, Brother Amari brought up something
Uh-oh.
in the Circle 7,
Uh-oh.
chapter 17, verse 10.
Oh, yeah.
And it states, Behold, for I have risen from the dead with gifts for men. I bring you the title of your vast estate.
Chapter 17.
I bring you your title of your vast estate. Now, you remember that the Circle 7 is based on those years of Yahshua's life that were excluded from the holy text, holy Bible. And
Yeah.
being that Noble Drew Ali is on the frequency, right, of what Yahshua was on, some of these things play. A lot of things that were said by the prophets, we can apply to Noble Drew Ali, right? So, Noble Drew Ali made the statement even that he brought us the title to our vast estate,
Yep.
right? Our name and our religion. What do we want him to do? Kill us before we accept this thing that he brought back to us, right? So they talk about estate, right? And that the estate is vast.
Oh, to add to what you just said, what do you want me to do? Kill you, right? If you go to verse 33, it says, and Jesus was the first of all the human race to demonstrate the resurrection of the dead. So maybe he has to kill you before you realize it.
Right.
Oh,
Just to add to that.
you want to look at this? Or you-
No, I'm cool.
Right?
He speaks with it.
So the vast estate, right? The vast estate is our Moroccan Empire, right? Understanding that the Moroccan Empire is a vast estate would let us realize how the corporate construct is able to exist. Because the corporate construct, in order for them to be able to do anything that they do, they need to have access to this, to the estate. Because they can't really just do what they want in land that's not theirs. But if they can get the people to abandon the land that is theirs, then all the corporate contract has to do is get the people to say, the state, right? Instead of estate, and then they lose everything,
Deserve.
right? Which is where we are right now, because you know there's state, and then state goes into province, and then province to city or whatever.
Municipality.
City, municipality, etc. Right? Now, the estate can only be administered right? The activity of the estate could only happen or could only be done with individuals who are in procure persona, right? If we're not in propria persona, then we fall victim to the state. And then we lose every time. Because we're actually the freeholders, etc. of the estate. Now when we go to chapter 1, so-called chapter 1 of the Holy Quran, let every living thing stand still and hear. Man is the Lord of all the plains of manifest, of protoplast, of mineral, of plant, of beast. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage. But he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. He must suffer trials and temptations manifold. Right? That goes back to the thing that Amari was saying, that, you know, Joshua had to die to get it. Right? What really died?
Lower self. Okay.
Or the fake.
Right? His lower self died. In order for him to be brought into the light and into Christ and then come out of the tomb and whatever it is that he did. Right?
So it's like,
being in propria persona means that you're in
Proper person.
full life. Right? Improper person. And once again, right? In full life. And being in full life gives us access to be able to administer for the estate. Because as Moorish American, right? As Moorish American, we have a direct connection to the Moroccan Empire. We don't have to claim Kush and Kemet and all these other places that were also once under our rule. Right? We can claim our own jurisdiction, but we can only do that as Moorish Americans. Right? Because Moorish Americans are descendants of Moroccans born in America. So logically, we're the only people that could make any claim in the empire of Morocco. Right? Because there's Moors all over the country. There's Moors all over the planet. And this is a specific, Mujwali made this a specific jurisdiction for us. By making that claim of Moorish American. And us going by that, opposed to going at Moors or Washita or MUURs or, you know, Spanish Moors, Moriscos, whatever. Moorish American directly ties us to the Moroccan Empire. If we want to administer for that estate. So when we have people who claim to be Moorish American, right? But then they're talking about Kush and Kemet, and they're talking about tribalism, they're talking about templeism, that, well, you can't claim to be this unless you're, you know, part of some temple or something like that. When this has absolutely nothing to do with temple membership, registration, or nothing like that. Right? This is a birthright tied to an estate. Go there. So we're clear on this. Right? Estate. The interest in which one has in lands or in any other subject of property An estate in lands, tenements, and hereditaments signifies such interest as the tenant has therein, the condition or circumstance in which the owner stands with regard to his property. In this sense, estate is constantly used in conveyances in connection with the words right, title, and interest, and is, in a great degree, synonymous with all of them. So estate, even though it means lands, right, includes rights, title, and interest. So when we say that we're Moors and we're standing up for rights, or we're standing up for birthrights, we're actually making a claim based on an estate without saying the word estate. When we say I'm a national and my title for my property, whatever, is allodial, right? The fact that we use the term allodial means that we're speaking on an estate without having to say the term estate, right? But the same thing goes for the corporate jurisdiction. When the corporate jurisdiction says birth certificate, they don't mean birth certificate. They're talking about they have access to your estate. That's why they could do the birth certificate. When they say license, they don't mean license, they mean we have your estate, so we're gonna give you this instrument, or we're gonna allow you this privilege. Because remember that estate means rights. So if anybody is doing anything, they're exercising rights. But if they're exercising rights that they don't have because this is not their land, then they can't really say estate, but they'll say state to get people to think that they're not talking about an estate because there's no either, but really they're talking about an estate.
Even under false pretense.
Under false pretenses, right? Which is why Noble Drew Ali made the statement that Moors be yourself. Because when Moors be themselves, then they're in propria persona in full life. And once you're in propria persona in full life, obviously you're going to be doing something in relation to an estate, no matter what it is that you do.
Amen.
Amen. Amen, Ra.
Amen, Ra, for real.
Right? Okay? So, and as well, when we say estate, and it's connected to lands and birthrights and title and interests, we have to remember that nobody else is going to speak on behalf of this except us. There's not anybody who speaks from the perspective of claiming lands or making some type of claim in the Americas. They better be that. Or some other American national. So all these Europeans talking about free man on the land, and they have videos on YouTube that they did this, they did that, and they got stuff dismissed and whatever like that. All that's void.
Yes, sir.
Why is it void? Because there are no legitimate courts.
That's the first thing.
There are no legitimate courts. All courts are frauds.
judges haven't existed on this side of the continent from what, 1787 or something like that?
Some madness like that.
Brother Kudra, what other nationals are there?
There's so-called Mexican, Cuban, Venezuelan,
Okay, are they nationals?
Chilean,
Or
etc.
are they those are nationals?
Yeah, majority of them
What is
because
it? Like, is it Mexico corporation?
well, it's like okay, Mexico, for example, right?
Well, I mean, okay, they are a corporation, but if a Mexican, for instance, goes into the United States, they have no jurisdictions over them whatsoever. That is why in California, they want to give them driver's license now,
So they can have jurisdiction.
so they can have jurisdiction. And a lot of the
So
Californians, they like say, well, how come they get a driver's license just like that?
They're legals? Because they're legals.
But they're legal.
Yeah.
But they're not really hearing what's happening. They don't really know what's happening, is that this is their land. The Mexicans don't know it. They're fighting to get into a land that is theirs.
Theirs.
So, it's, you know,
Through an instrument
to an instrument.
that comes from foreigners.
That's gonna put them
That's
underneath.
gonna put them underneath the jurisdiction or put them out of their
Yeah.
estate.
Yes.
But what is so the name is Mexican?
Right, well,
Yeah, it's,
it might not be Mexican
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But those people over there,
mhm.
they know that they're national,
Yes, they know that they're national.
right? So for example, I can't remember his first name, but right, Batista and
Castro?
Batista and Castro were
Oh, boy.
U.S. agents,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
right?
Yeah.
All right. Batista, after Batista left and Castro came in, Castro was supposed to carry on the work of Batista.
Right.
And Castro said, hell no, I'm not doing nothing with you guys, U.S. anything, because I know you guys are fraud or whatever. And he nationalized Cuba, right? Gave everything back to the people and said, okay, you guys administer everything because this is your land, it's your estate. We don't need any help from any foreigner to tell us what we could do in our land. Venezuela followed suit, and Chile and all these people followed suit, right?
Yeah, but Cuba's going back.
Yeah, well,
Cuba's going backwards because the foreigners are in there.
yeah, going backwards
They're in
because they got rid of their so-called U.S. agent that didn't want to be an agent anymore. Right? So Castro was really doing damage control when he nationalized Cuba
Yeah,
because he know that he did wrong.
right.
And he know that in Cuba, when you do wrong, the people take your head. There's not no, tribunal see if you're guilty or innocent or whatever. People are gonna come drag you out the office, take you over there,
Yeah.
and they're gonna deal with your case.
But what I'm saying is now the Cubans are going.
Yeah, now
US.
they're
They're
down with the U.S.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, they're going crazy now.
Right? They're down with, and then same thing with the pattern, right? And then get Hugh out the way, because he himself said they gave me cancer,
Yeah, I believe it.
right?
Yeah, I believe
So get him out the way, and then they take over that. Then get the other one done and take over that, and then they follow this pattern. But they follow this pattern based on the people not recognizing that they're in a state, thinking that foreigners are Americans, and they're foreigners, and they need to get visas and whatever in order to travel in their land, right? When the person who's giving them licenses and telling them they can't are the ones that need the visas.
Exactly.
But if they are not in propria persona, they can't make that argument. Just like black people can't make the argument of racism. Because, like, what are you talking about? You're black. You can't make any arguments around here.
Yep.
You can pretend, you go march all you want. Okay, there's the street. Here's the cardboard, go draw whatever it is that you want to draw, you guys go march. But don't think anything's coming out of that.
Funny sometimes.
Right? But then when we look at other countries around the world, when they march and protest and picket or whatever, it's based on them trying to protect their estate.
Yes.
It's not based on somebody being racist to them or somebody beat them up or somebody whatever. It's because government has powers, executive, legislative, judicial, or whatever, and they're trying to abuse that. They're trying to abuse those powers in order to they're trying to abuse those powers in order to get us, you know, in a
More Stars Temple in America.
position, right? To just go with what they say because, you know, they got the suits and ties and whatever, so they have to be right. They have to be really the government, right? Because they have the office right there. It says, you know, Government of Canada. So why wouldn't we be down with them as the government, right? Well, if they call themselves state, they're obviously not the government
Sorry, you're located where?
because this is a estate,
It's Southern California.
right? This is an estate. Right?
Give me 1 sec, okay, man?
Now, as well, with us exercising as heirs or beneficiaries or trustees of this estate, right? There's a certain protocol that has to be met, which is why Noble Drew Ali said, you know, proclaim your nationality and make sure that your Circle 7 has a seal on it. Make sure that your 101 questionnaire has a seal on it. Make sure that place that you call temple, they have a charter and all this stuff, because all these things are to mold us into being these so-called governmental officials that we're gonna need when that system out there crashes, which it's gonna do. And we would have been on top of the game by now. We would have been top of the game from when it happened in '33. More Science Temple would have just stepped in and then played the role of government, because there were all the members in there, Grand Chief or whatever, and everybody would now have to relinquish their U.S whatever because it's a fraud, because they're bankrupt, and now come back to this, right?
Domicile.
And once they come back into this, then they're gonna have their rightful name that's recognized all over the world, because everybody knows who the Moors are. They're gonna have estate, which means they're gonna have land, they're gonna have their birthrights, they're gonna have their titles, and they're gonna have their interests, right?
So what happens to the foreigners? What would happen to the foreigners?
They either choose to show allegiance to the actual heirs to stay, follow the, you know, abide by the Constitution, which is their private contract with us, right? Or go back where you come from. And not go back where you come from in the sense of you know, swim. Since we're the ones that are, you know, in charge or whatever, all the boats are over there on the seaboard lined up waiting for you guys, right? Just like Hitler did in Germany. Everybody who was over there, there's a boat with your flag on it. Go on your boat, go home. Right? Go on your boat and go home. You have a boat there waiting for you to take you back. You don't have to find your way. You don't have to buy a ticket. Just go board the boat.
Board the boat.
And it'll take you back to wherever it is that you come from. And then we start dealing with our own affairs. But our, you know, our best friends, everybody wants to be friends with, dirty Moors, who didn't do their job since 1929. Noble Drew Ali passed, and they wanted to make up all this other stuff. And you know, where's the want to talk about CMB is a fraud and you know he abandoned the prophet and he's making up his own stuff or whatever like that, right?
You're saying that's what he is?
That's what they say he is,
Okay.
to get you not to
Oh yeah, to listen to him, yeah.
to listen to what CMB said.
He's the clock of destiny.
Right, yeah, right? When CMB dropped it. And he let them all know. And none of them were down with it. Right? Article 2, right? Zodiac Constitution, birthright of the Moorish American, the Bays and L's. So he's even telling us, right? That the jurisdiction of North America, the people there should have the name of Ellen Bay. So when you start hearing Moors call themselves Moorish American, and then they say that they're Ali and Days and Als, and they don't say that they're El or Bay, they're in violation of Zodiac law. Because the North Gate is the jurisdiction of the L's and Bays. Right? Since the 12 jurymen of the 50 Union States Magna Charta document of white supremacy and the 9 judges of their Supreme Court are founded upon our Morris Zodiac 12 signs, mathematical constitution, the lawmakers have no jurisdiction over the free Moors, the L's and the Bays and L's, in the inherited land of the Moorish nation, namely U.S.A, Canada, Central and South America. The Moorish American nationality and their surnames Bay and L are their inherited birthrights without a legal due process of the lawmakers of the Union Society U.S.A. What our Moorish forefathers were, we are today without doubt or contradiction. Right? That's Article 2. Article 3. Tax and military exemption for Moorish Americans. Right. This is what dirty Moors are trying to keep away from the people. This is the birthrights that we have in our land that certain people don't want us to know about. Because they work for this U.S. corporation. And their job is to get us under that jurisdiction. When we have our own jurisdiction that's supreme, that those guys can't even come in to get us if we did something. They would still have to come and ask permission to get whoever did something wrong. Right? Article 3. The Moors, referred to as Negroes, definitely can never become members and citizens of the Union Society of 48 States. Right? It's telling you that we cannot be citizens of the 48 states. Why? Because it's not a estate. So we can't be citizens of a corporate jurisdiction. We can't be citizens of CAA. We can't be citizens of McDonald's. That's corporation. And corporations don't have citizenry. Therefore, they cannot be forced or drafted into the Union, U.S.A Army or military service to fight for the Magna Charta code of the white supremacy against themselves. Right? Right? Magna Charta. Right? And this, for all the, just read this again. Therefore, they cannot be forced or drafted into the Union, U.S.A Army or military service to fight for the Magna Charta code of white supremacy. That's for all the Jay-Z fans out there who like the Magna Carta album and think that he's in their favor because he said arm, leg, arm, head in a song. But his album's called Magna Carta.
Okay.
which is white supremacy system. Right? But, you know, that's why he's gonna get funded.
Yep.
Because he's done with the white supremacy. Right? The lawmakers of the 48 States Union order cannot force the Moors, the Bays and L's to pay taxes because taxation without representation is a supreme violation of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, birthrights of Islam. When the Union lawmakers denounce their immoral Magna Carta Code and resort to the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Moors are compelled to pay taxes because everyone of the nation will be equally represented by it. There is no room in the science of masonry, the zodiac, for mystic god religious worship, race, color ignorance, war crime, slavery, and human injustice. So Moors cannot be taxed and cannot be drafted or forced to join the so-called armies that these people create to go around the world and kill everybody and take their land. Article 4. Adequate employment and protection for Moorish Americans. Now remember, these are all the articles in the Zodiac Constitution by C.M. Bay in the Library of Congress, Washington, D.C.
I was about to say that.
Right? So it's not like they don't know what Moors are talking about. It's not like, you know, like when people talk about, well, you know, I don't know if I want to be a Moor because I don't think the European recognizes, you know, Moorish, whatever. Well, everything we're reading right now is in the Library of Congress. Right? And the Library of Congress right now is the biggest library on the planet, in the world. That's where it's at.
And they don't just let anything in there.
Right?
So it's like...
So adequate employment and protection for Moorish Americans. Every lawmaker and heads of industry and business enterprise of the 50 States Union Order are obligated members and citizens of the Magna Carta, Christian Church, and Temple System of Christ, the King of Jews, meaning jury over the wealth and culture of the living Moorish nation in North America. Therefore, by the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Moors, the Bays and L's can demand adequate employment, food, clothing, shelter, medical care, equal rights, respect and protection from mob violence, rape and injustices. Otherwise, without being obligated to the Union Church and religious system of the Order of Christ, the quote-unquote white sun idol god. So again, therefore, by the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Moors, the Bays and the L's can demand adequate employment, food, clothing, shelter, medical care, etc. Right? We can demand it. Whether they give it up or not is not even where we're talking about. We're just talking about the fact that we have the right to demand certain things. And if we don't demand it, then that means we're in default and we get nothing. If we do demand it, at least we demanded it, regardless of what they do. Because they're going to do whatever they want to do, because they know that from an astrological perspective, their time's up. They know that on a physical plane perspective, their time's up. They know mentally, their time's up. You know, they know socially, economically, in every single way, their time's up. But only the L's and Bays are the ones that can actually make a claim based on their time being up. And if nobody makes a claim, then their time's going to be up and they're going to be still doing the things that they shouldn't be doing anymore, right? Article 5, Immoral Marriage License Code against the Zodiac Law of Nature. truth cannot be altered and therefore needs no apology nor doctrine, because it is the supreme mental doctor itself for the entire human family, woman and man. 1. Thus the truth is, the Sisterhood Christian Daughters of the American Revolution, DAR, established the Marriage License States Right Code to prevent the Moorish men and women from marrying into their Magna Carta society of white supremacy. 2. Did you ever stop to think that women and men are already married by supreme law of nature, and that a marriage license is an act of violation of the law of nature? The natural law union between women and men spells love and the reproduction of a child, in which a marriage license plays no part in. 3. Definitely, there cannot be any illegitimate children offspring from women and men, because woman is the supreme gate of creation of both male and female children by the law of nature, which spells Islam, or I self law and master, the carpenter and the grand architect of the human family. Adam means the positive forces in women, and sons responsible for evolution or the reproduction of children by the law of nature. The Pope, priest, the preacher, the judges of the Christian society definitely cannot prove that their Adam and Eve had a marriage license. Did you ever stop to think that the marriage license code is an act of selling women and men back to themselves? The Union Magna Carta marriage license code unfortunately and unconsciously caused the quote-unquote white women to be cut off from the human family, the Moorish nation. In other words, the white women are supreme social slaves against their will and desire. This has caused them to carry in their mind and heart a secret sorrow and anger, which causes their children to inherit a tendency of crime, hatred, insanity, and various other diseases. Islam, supreme standard of the zodiac marriage law culture. Here are the elements of the signs of the zodiac, women's and men's opposite signs involving the first marriage of the zodiac law of nature. No preacher and money can license, neither religion is necessary in the standard zodiac marriage law. In harmony with nature, Aries is fire, Libra is air. Taurus is earth, Scorpio is water. Gemini is air, Sagittarius is fire. Cancer is water, Capricorn is earth. Leo is fire and Aquarius is air. Virgo is earth and Pisces is water. In 1863, Union Bible story of Eve and Adam were founded upon the Morris Zodiac 12 signs law, the negative and positive forces of nature. In harmony with nature, Aries is fire and Gemini is air. Leo is fire and Libra is air. Sagittarius is fire and Aquarius is air. Persons born under the opposite signs and the angle signs are in harmony with one another in every manner. Thus, first-hand knowledge of the sign under which you and your mate were born will guide your destiny in peace, progress, and happiness forever. Let us remember that this is not a theory. The zodiac is the absolute universal standard of marriage and human guidance. Woman and man will know their duty toward one another and their children without being forced by the traditional code of the courtroom. Article 6. The one and only universal moral law for unity, peace, and economic and social progress. The Morris Zodiac Constitution is the only universal, unchanged moral law for the human family, for unity, human equality, respect, peace, and economic and social progress. Therefore, evermore, the Bays and L's must be guided by this Constitution and book's clock of destiny. Do that which is right by reason and have respect for the quote-unquote white lawmakers and citizens of the Magna Carta Union Society of the 50 states in order to demand respect from them. The quote-unquote white peoples of the Union are guided by their Magna Carta traditions and customs, and the Moors are guided by the Zodiac Constitution law. Nevertheless, their customs and traditions, including themselves, must be respected by the Moors without submitting themselves to any of the Magna Carta customs. That which is termed the Christian law is a rule of action recorded on paper and supported by authority and force. The zodiac law of nature is recorded in and wisdom of women and men and supported by moral intelligence, the greatest law. Knowledge of zodiac masonry as shown in this Moorish constitution and also in my book Clock of Destiny volume 1 and 2 will prevent a Moorish American, he or she, from indulging in crime. They then would have to appear in a courtroom to stand trial. Should a Moorish American who has this constitution and book 1 and 2 indulge in crimes such as narcotics, robbery, forgery, prostitution, illegal whiskey or alcohol, illegal schemes, gambling, peace-breaking, violence, and disrespect for the law of the city, country, state, and federal, they have incriminated themselves and therefore will be penalized. This constitution, card, and book definitely does not protect criminals. There's another reason why, see, this is thrown out the window and certain people don't follow this.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't protect criminals. And Noble Jawali told us that. What are you Moors doing here? There's only going to be a handful saved and have fingers left over. Because everybody was criminal during his time. The Clock of Destiny, Moorish American Card of Identification and Constitution has been registered in the Library of Congress and signed by the author, CMB. A Moorish American cannot be convicted on false accusation frame-up charges. The evidence against a Moorish American must be concrete proof beyond a shadow of a doubt. The Moorish nation of 150 million shall not be destroyed for lack of truth and knowledge of the law and constitution of the Moors. Right? Going again to the fact that all these criminals that came into the Moorish movement after Noble Drew Ali passed wanted to get all the adepts basically out of the way, right? Problem was that majority of those adepts were sellouts. So there wasn't but maybe 3-4 adepts that they really had to get out the way after Noble Drew Ali died. And one of them was CMB. Right? Another one of them was Marcus Garvey. And they got rid of him quick fast. They got him out the country to get rid of him. Right? Fard Muhammad, Elijah Poole Bey, Father Divine, Sweet Daddy Grace. All these individuals who, you know, came to prominence after 1929 and became the, you know, teachers of whatever, when they were taught this. And none of them pushed this idea. None of them pushed this divine law that CMB, let's get his qualifications. Highly qualified, 3rd, 33rd, 360 degree, free Moorish Master Mason, Master Astrologer, PhD, LLD, and constitutional lawgiver. So he's qualified. And being that he's that qualified, people should have been down with him. Because of his qualifications. Right? We already know, you know.
What was he in the, he was a 33rd and a...
3rd, 33rd, and 360. Right? Which means he went through all the levels and all the chambers and he wasn't, you know, like these other people out here claiming that they have, you know, some knowledge or whatever. Right? Article 7, the Moorish Americans' freedom and legal in the Christian Union courtroom. In the Christian Union courtroom, the Moors cannot be forced to remove their red fez from their heads, nor can they be forced to raise their hand and take an oath over the Christian Bible. Neither can Moors, the Bays and L's, employ quote-unquote white or Negro lawyers to represent them. The reason for this is that quote-unquote white people and their quote-unquote Negro slaves definitely cannot represent free Moorish Americans. The Negro is the property of the Union slaveholders. The Moors must respect the court by saying, I affirm. Here, the court has no jurisdiction over them, which automatically makes them qualified to defend themselves by their Zodiac Constitution law and their mathematical number 9. The number 9 corresponds with the letter I, based on the 9 months from conception to birth, which makes you yourself the great I am, the first and the highest law of self-protection and self-preservation in harmony with your Zodiac 12 signs unchanged constitutional moral law of 360 degrees squared by your number 9. The Moorish Zodiac Constitution is referred to in Christian mythology as the Holy Quran, or Al-Quran, meaning the earth, the moon, the sun, and the 7 planets, or the chronology, zodiac record of the Moorish nation of the North Gate, North America. The name Muhammad, prophet, religion, God, church, temple, and mosque were established by the Dutch Anglo-Saxon priesthood Franciscan fathers of the North, who overthrew the Moorish Society of Islam between 1789 and the Union of 1863. The Moors, the Bays, and the L's must never attempt to teach or lecture in the Christian institutions, namely church, temple, mosque, school, and hall. This is a violation of the Union Society States Right Magna Carta Code of Mary and Christ. The truth of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution law and moral human principles definitely conflicts with the Christian Union customs and doctrine of the Magna Charta from every angle. Nor do not criticize the quote-unquote white people's beliefs in their religion of their sun and woman image. Nor do not ever attempt to influence the quote-unquote white people to accept the moral truth and principles of your 12 sign zodiac constitutional law, because the Magna Carta is a Latin phrase meaning magna charta, of quote-unquote white people's economic and social attraction only, which had its beginning in the colonies of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois in 1848 and 1854. If the lawmakers of the 50 Union States Society of North America should attempt to ignore the Moorish American Zodiac law and birthrights of this Constitution, it would be an act of supreme violation of their own Magna Carta. If the lawmakers of the 50 Union States Society of North America should attempt to ignore the Moorish American Zodiac law and birthrights of this Constitution, it would be an act of supreme violation of their own Magna Charta Code. And that's only around because people like Taj, because people who are in Clock of Destiny, they were hiding that. When they had an obligation under CMB to let these people know about their Clock of Destiny, Book 1, Book 2, Zodiac Constitution, and their Clock of Destiny identification card, which was also a nationality card. Because CMB back then realized the same thing that Pleasant Bay realized today, realized the same thing that Taj realized today, realized the same thing that all these other Moors realize who don't deal with the temple. Like they deal with it out of unity, but they're not getting down with being down with this organization or whatever because infiltration and sellouts that have done their job very well. Because we're just finding out about Noble Drew Ali right now, past 5-7 years. We're just finding out about him. He came 1913. We're just finding out about him right now. And we know about all these other people who met Noble Drew Ali, even. People who got taken out of prison and stuff like that. Just because he went and he got them out of prison. Right? And then we ask ourselves, you know, why are we here? You know, why are we in this position where Moors don't have nothing? Where's the Moors hospital? And where's the Moors schools? And where's the Moors whatever? Because dirty Moors. They wanted you to be Negro black colored instead of Moors, and then we bought it, and then we lived that lie, and now we realize that the lie, and we're not gonna go hang those people that didn't tell us about our birthright for 100 years.
Exactly.
We're not gonna go hang those people. We're not gonna go pick them, because we know who they are. We know who all of them are. We're not gonna put them on a wall, stone them to death, nothing. We're just gonna let traders just chill and hang out with us.
Exactly.
Right? You know, because of what? Unity, out of unity. We need unity, so you know we're not gonna cause no problems with anybody when people are dirty. And again, we can go to any nation, whether it's corporate nation or de jure nation. And when there's traders in the midst, there's not no how you do it with traders. Not happening.
It's funny, you see the U.S., they're serious about their people.
Oh yeah,
traders.
people who are traders to U.S., they go after them.
Yeah.
Could name a few.
They go after them.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
Hard. Right? Which leads right back again to estate. That these traders know that you have an estate. They know that they're the trustees or the fiduciary, and they have an obligation to make sure that the estate is handled correctly. Right? But what happens? You have these sellouts, agents, whatever, right? That take a position of, well, if we use this court, for example, right? They're going to say that they went to court, right? And because they put in a certain paperwork in the court, right? Their case is dismissed or expunged or whatever. Right? They go to court, they put in some paperwork, and then case gets dismissed. And then they have everybody thinking that the paperwork is what got the case dismissed. When we already told you, Magna Carta have to acknowledge the position of the Moors.
There's no court.
Not only that, there's no such thing as any courts right now. Because all the courts right now are admin. And that's not what Cujo says, or what Moors say, or whatever. You go to the court.
Like Amari says it, all right?
You could go to the court, and you'll see the nice bronze plaque right there that says administrative building.
Yeah, there's plates in the back.
So if there's I'll fix up that. So if there's an administrative building, right, and they're claiming to be a court, and you put paperwork in there, and your stuff gets dismissed, was it really dismissed? Or was it fought from the start, and they were just running the game with you? They'll just go through the motions, come to court, and then get a lawyer, and then we do this, and then we're gonna have the kid. Oh no, we can't do anything now. Come back next week. Come back to whatever. But when they're fraud from the start, and nothing that they said is valid. Nothing that they say is withstanding. Everything they say is not withstanding. Right? Because remember, as soon as somebody and this is a code word. Paperwork. Paperwork is a code word. When somebody's talking to you from the perspective of more as paperwork, you already know that after paperwork,
money.
Fees coming. Guaranteed. Never fails. Never fails. As soon as you hear somebody say paperwork, yeah, well, you should try to do this paperwork or whatever paperwork. Know that in a couple of days or a week or whatever, there's going to be a fee coming. Guaranteed. And remember, when we talk about estates and titles and rights, right? We're talking about something that's in or unalienable. And something inalienable or unalienable means that it cannot be sold. And as soon as it's sold, everything is void. As soon as you put down money, as soon as somebody says paperwork, and you put down money, you just voided that paperwork. And it's probably not going to work when you go to court because it's void. Because you paid for it.
To add to it too, because even in the paperwork it states that we don't honor money. So if we don't honor money, why are you paid for it?
Right?
Why are you paid for it if you don't honor money? It says it in the most paperwork. So
most paperwork would say that. Right?
Like money doesn't exist.
So what we have to understand with regard to paperwork, when we hear this term being thrown around by people, right, is that the paperwork is really an example of your mind state. The paperwork is an example of what you have between your ears. So if somebody sells this to you, obviously it's not an example of what's between your ears. It's an example of what's between that guy's ears who sold this to you. Which means that it's not your paperwork. Because paperwork isn't like shoes and hair or whatever. Well, I bought it, so it's mine. You know how they talk. That's not what this is. Paperwork is a mentality. You have to be on a certain mind frame to have paperwork.
Exactly.
You have to be on a certain mind frame to reserve your rights. But if you reserve your rights with a stamp like this and you stamp the paper, That's a whole different degree of knowledge than somebody who write all rights reserved on the line and then write UCC, whatever, without prejudice or whatever. There's a whole different perspective. Because it's about where's your mind at with regard to this. Somebody can't put your mind somewhere that your mind hasn't perceived what that is. So like we say, somebody could have a situation and Taj could write paperwork for you. Foolproof. Free. If you just take that paperwork and you just send it out, you're gonna lose, guaranteed. Because the paperwork's not vibrating with you. Paperwork's vibrating on somebody else's frequency. That the person who's reading that paper will be able to pick up the frequency of where it came from. And they're gonna make a decision based on the frequency they get in the paperwork. Of, well, should we dismiss this? Or should we just keep going to run this guy all over the place? Because based on this, we know he didn't write this because, you know, we have his birth certificate. Right? We have his birth certificate, which we have attached his birth record. And based on his birth record, we did his natal chart. And based on his natal chart, we know there's no way that he wrote this. Because his natal chart says that, you know, his sun is in Scorpio, and that means that, you know, he's whatever. Which is contradictory to this paperwork that we have right here. So let's just run him through the ringer, and we'll tell him come back again, and we'll tell him come back again, and we'll tell him come back, and whatever. And, you know, when we get fed up, then we'll dismiss this. Or they get the paperwork and they say, okay, well, it's paperwork. It's in line with birth certificate, the birth record, the natal chart that we have. How about go out there, meet him at the door, and don't even let him come into this court. And just let him know that everything's done and don't worry about it. Because we don't want this guy up in the court because his moon's and whatever. And if he comes in here, he's going to be walking around giving out flyers to people and having conversations or whatever around here, trying to wake up all our sheep. And we can't have that. So better we throw this out and not even deal with him coming in here to say whose delegation of authority order and all this stuff, because he's going to draw attention because, you know, based on his natal chart, he's the attention getter. As soon as he walks in the room, he's a big light, bright light that nobody's not going to miss, and everybody's going to be running up to him and ask questions. Even if he goes to court without fez on, without Circle 7 stuff, whatever, just goes in there, you know, some jeans, t-shirt or whatever, he's still going to draw attention. Because these people that control all this or whatever, that know about all this, you know, they're scientists. They study. They're not just some, like we say, they're not just some crackers. They drive a truck, chain you to the back of a truck, drag you down the street, put you on the noose on a tree. They're scientists. They know. They know more than we know. And we assume that they're just some crackers on a truck. They're just, you know, hey Bob and whatever. When that's not where they're at. They're way beyond that. Because they were taught. And they were taught by their own, and they were taught by us. So they have a degree of knowledge, right? That they even know that it's not a court. That's why they have a business hours. That's why they have a plaque that says administrative. That's why when you get a ticket, it says corporation of city of whatever. And then the corporation of city of whatever is going to tell you have to go to this so-called court. Now they know it's an administrative building, but if they say administrative building, everybody's going to be questioning, or what? Why? So then why am I coming to talk to you guys? Why am I going in here if this is not a court? everybody, just based on common sense, people ask the question. But, you know, they do hidden in plain sight. So they have the plaque there, plaque's been there forever, nobody looks at it. As soon as they go like this, they check the hours, it says business hours, doesn't say court hours, on the little sign with the hours, and that goes over their head. And they go in there and the guy's gonna tell them, yeah, take all your stuff out your pockets or whatever, you know, they take all their stuff out their pockets, they walk through the thing, right? Kinda sounds like there's martial law or something going on. You're just searching me, just going to court. You know, are you searching me going to court? You don't search me going into the bank. They got more stuff to lose than the court. How come they don't search people going into the bank? How come there's not a thing with people, yeah, just empty out your pockets, okay, sure, make sure you have no guns, weapons, you know, because, you know, these places get robbed sometimes. So we just have to make sure that, you know, you're coming here to do business only. Right? And it continues. And it continues because good men do nothing when they see bad stuff going on. Right? Nowadays, it's easy to do nothing. You just put your phone and record it.
Just watch it.
Then put it on World Star and say, yeah, I did something. I'm showing the world something. You didn't do nothing. That guy still got his ass kicked or whatever, or got shot up or whatever, and that officer is still driving around kicking people's ass, even though you guys taped it. But majority of people who tape stuff, you know, they're not in propria persona. They're slaves. So even if they do tape, it doesn't mean nothing. That evidence is not going to be able to be used anyways. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions or comments?
I mean, everything falls in line with, especially with, like, just reading off in the Zodiac Constitution with, yes, sir. Yeah, you asked, go ahead. I'm just making a comment.
Any questions? Doesn't matter.
Ask a question.
Bring them up. Bring them
Okay,
up.
so you're saying when they have to go to court,
Yeah.
if they know you come into court, they have your birth certificate and everything to check to see what kind of person you are,
Yeah.
what you're capable of doing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's why they created the birth certificate. Right?
I'm wondering why they would go through all that.
Birth certificate. Birth record. Right? Now, before, you would have a child, get a birth record. And the birth record, you would put that, in your holy book. Right? And that would be it. Right? In 1933, when stock market crashed and all that, they realized that they had to make people from birth, they had to make people corporations. So they started administering birth certificates at birth. So you become corporation, right? And then remember that a certificate is a bond, right? That they can put money on. How do they get the money to create this bond from this certificate, right? They follow your natal chart. And based on your natal chart, they make a projection of how much money you're gonna make by the time you get to the age of whatever. Right? And then they put that amount on that line.
And what does the natal chart tell them?
The natal chart tells them everything.
What you're doing, how much money you're working for, where you work.
Everything. Anything about you, right?
Okay.
They tell you,
Okay.
right? So now, also too, let's check this too.
Okay.
Right? So
And you know this because there's based of years, based of years.
And where would you get a natal chart from?
funny you ask that question. You get it done online for free.
Huh.
Yeah.
Get it online for free.
You're talking about like where the sun and the moon are, and
Yeah, and where you were born, and where the sun and the moon was when you were born,
Yes,
and where you
you
go.
can,
Right.
yes.
Do you need time? Do you need the time of birth
Yes,
also?
yes.
Yeah, time. So you're gonna need date of birth, time of birth, place of birth. Right?
So to find out the time, can you just go back to the hospital?
You can, but when you start asking those kind of questions, they already know where you're going. So they might hold out on you, or they give you a wrong time or whatever. Try your mom first.
Because I have like the birth certificate, but it doesn't say anything.
No, yeah, try your mom. Your mom will know.
Yeah?
That's your mom. She'll know.
I don't remember
Or,
nothing.
or she'll know. I was like, yeah, you remember that? Yeah, I remember that.
You remember, trust
You
me.
remember that.
First child was
Another thing, you were talking about the birth. They have a. Do they still? Can you go and get your birth record
105,
Oh, Lord.
You'll have a hard time getting your birth record.
from them?
355. I remember that name.
Now, is that impossible or hard?
What's that?
Birth record.
No, it's
It's probably impossible, because,
They're not going to want to give it up.
well, not that they don't want to give it up, but they sold it.
Right.
so they can't find it.
So,
Right.
you know, it's like, it's one of those things where, you know, you poke lion through the fence or whatever, you know, don't get mad. Stuff happens,
Mm.
right? Because remember, even though they have this, right, you can get this done yourself
Because it's yours.
because it's yours, right? So, and then once you get the nail chart done, right, then you know what they know about you. Which now makes it even playing field, because everybody knows the rules now. And you're gonna know your true self, that you thought you were, you thought you were a kicker, but you're really a puncher. You know, you've been wasting your time kicking all your life,
Well,
right?
Right.
When the
That's-
power is really in punching for you,
And that's
because of how you came into where the stars are, or
and that's
whatever.
probably what the game that they've been up to, anyways, is
Yeah.
putting you outside of your.
Yeah, put you outside yourself.
Meantime, you thought you were a kicker, you're a puncher.
Right.
That's why you're struggling.
And then you're going around kicking everybody, and everybody's laughing at you,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, oh,
Yeah.
kicking is not working. God, you didn't do your nose chart to know that you're a puncher or a headbutter or something like that. Right? So once they have the birth record, right? They create the birth certificate and attach the birth certificate to you. So now you think that you're a corporation, right? And then once they attach the birth certificate to you and you think you're a corporation, now they have access to your nail chart. Right? Because you don't have access to it. Just like anything else. If you don't have the key to your house and I have the key to your house, you're not getting in. Whether I'm there or not, you're not getting in. Because if I'm there, I'm not opening. And if I leave, I have your key. Right? And what You know what Joel Lee wanted the Moors to do is to take everything back in your own hands and administer for yourself. You don't need the middleman. You don't need, just like we were saying earlier, you don't need a middleman for you to talk to God, because Allah is inside you. God's inside you. So don't even worry about that guy who says, you know, I have this building for you to come worship, whatever.
Pay me.
Forget all that. He doesn't have no direct connection to anybody. Right? You have the direct connection. Matter of fact, you going in there is what gives him the power to have his little connection that he has.
A guy stopped me the other day. He says, "Do you want me to read your palm?" I said, "It's okay, thanks."
Now, quick story. Right? Quick story. When we first came into the information, I was at Scarborough Town Center. Right? Just chilling in the car. And man who comes up to the window, "Yeah, hi, how you doing?" You know, like Hindustani or whatever. "Hi, how you doing? You know, I am, you know, whatever from wherever, and you know, I do whatever stuff, right?" Now I just went to the mall. I went to the mall and I was in the mall to pay a bill, and then their machine wasn't working. So I was like, "Okay, forget you guys ain't getting nothing. So I'm not waiting in a long line up for nothing. You guys have a machine right there. So forget it." So I left the mall, sitting in the car now, right? And Takao was me. She vouched for this, right? So guy comes, you know, and he's talking, you know, his little spiel or whatever, and I'm like, whatever, this guy's shit or whatever, you know. But I'm gonna hear you out just because I'm doing nothing else right now, you know. So listen to this guy, and he's talking, whatever, you know, same thing, you know, and read the palm and whatever. Like, yo, how you get all this? "Oh, because my master teacher, you know, my teacher, you know, he died, you know, whatever, 10 years ago or something like that, and you know, he taught me certain things, how to read people's palms and how to do this and how to blah blah." And he pulled out this stone out of his pocket. He's like, "Yeah, this stone is, you know, your stone or whatever." So I'm like, "All right, you know." So I took the stone, you know what I mean? And then I asked him, like, "So, you know, who was your teacher?" He said some name. I'm like, "Well, I don't know." He's like, "Okay, let me show you." Pulled out a picture, guy with a fez on.
Oh shit.
Right? Now, you know, this is fresh coming into the info now. So I'm like,
Oh boy.
oh boy. Somebody send you or something like that?
Yeah.
Right?
Agent.
Somebody had to send you. Right? Somebody had to send you. But not even on those levels. Like
No, spiritual.
divine, because this is first coming into the information. You know what I mean? And then this guy comes with picture with a man with a fez on. And we're just getting into this information right now and all this. So like, okay, the information must be legit. Because this guy's a nobody. Don't even know who this guy is or whatever. So did the reading or whatever, told me write down some stuff on a paper. You know, write down this, write down whatever. All right. Okay, well, you wrote down this, and you wrote down this, and you wrote down this. Okay, now something's really going on now, because
That's exactly what he said.
I wrote down everything. I wrote down stuff. I didn't show you the paper, and now you're telling me what I wrote down on the paper? You know what I mean? And it was like random stuff, like not even anything to, you know, random. So he's like, yeah, I do this, so, I just, donation or whatever, for, I'm like, you know what? Here's the money, right? It was $80. Like, yo, here's $80.
What?
Right? It's like, he even looked, yeah, that's what he said. He's like, I'm like, yeah. He's like, he's like, oh, okay, I was so generous, whatever. I'm like, no, it's only because these guys' machine was working. And obviously the machine wasn't working because somebody knew I was going to see you.
Yes.
So they made that not work, so you can get this. So here. Right? So this guy's walking through the parking lot now, right? He's walking through the parking lot. Like, he left the car. Seen him leave the car, walking through the parking lot, right? Turned to Cal about something. And I can't remember what it was, but she's like, yo, get him, ask him one more thing or whatever. By the time I went like this and looked out of the front, man's gone. Like, gone. And it wasn't but 10 seconds. He couldn't have walked from, like, we're talking about parking lot cars or whatever, and I stood for a little bit because, okay, maybe he ducked behind something or whatever, but, you know, why? You know what I mean? He didn't rob me or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? I just want to ask another question because you obviously, something's obviously up with you. You know what I mean? Right? And, right? And that was one of those ones where you just, alright, whatever, you know? Because he did come for a reason. He validated, you know, that people in India wear fezzes or whatever. People in India wear fezzes. I'm just finding out this right now. He showed me black and white picture of his master teacher in India wearing a fez or whatever. With all these guys wearing turbans and all this. It's like, okay.
Thank you.
Right? Thank you. Right?
No, don't get married. I get it.
I mean, yeah, that's, I mean, once you find those things out, it's like, it validates what you've been not knowing all these years.
Right, exactly.
It's like, you didn't know this information.
Yep.
And then now the information is coming out because you're ready for that information more or less.
Yep.
Maybe if you didn't know that, maybe if you didn't get into that information from before, you would have seen that as like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Just blow it off like it's nothing.
I think more importantly, you were meant to be visited,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you were just receptive at that. Well, yeah, no, you were meant
That's it. He was receptive at that time.
Well, yeah. I mean,
So what about the $80? Think that mattered?
Nope. Guess not.
I believe it did. Same story
you know,
happened to me. What happened to me?
generosity, from a generosity
But you
perspective,
think it's
yeah,
generosity.
it might have mattered, but
You think it's generosity. But like you said, why was the machine not working?
yeah.
It wasn't generosity. They wanted to see.
Yeah, well, test
You
or
take
whatever.
out a $5 bill,
Yeah.
you just say, here,
Yeah.
is your money worth your
A
knowledge?
test, right.
I know,
Right.
I know it has something to do with it.
Spiritual test, yeah.
Happened to me, same
For real.
thing. So I know. And you pass the test that money is not an object compared to its
Right.
knowledge. That's why you got what you got.
Got to the next level up.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
I believe that wholeheartedly. Living proof of it.
Right.
So it's hard when it comes to money because a lot of people are gonna look at the money. They're gonna say,
Right.
no, I'm gonna give him a $5. They're not gonna say $80.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because it can, as easy as, yeah, give him a $5, and now that 75 has to go to realignment because I ran over the curb or something like that.
Yes,
Right.
or more.
Now I'm cussing myself that damn,
Right.
you know, I should have gave the guy the $80 and then I would not.
That's right. That's
Right?
right. But people don't believe that those things happen, but they do.
Yeah, it's real.
Of course.
It's real.
It's more than real.
You know?
But the average, we're going back to what Brother Najo was saying, the people that were lost they'll be like, here's $5 or
Yeah.
here's a quarter, you know?
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
see ya.
Yeah,
And miss the whole
And
boat.
miss the thing, miss the lesson. For real. Right? Any more questions or comments or anything? I know so you have a new person in the back.
Yeah, that's the second time around.
I didn't see you there.
Yeah,
What's up? What's up? Hey.
Nice. Peace, brother. I'm
Yes.
here, man. You know, last
Know
time
you got questions, bro.
Bring 'em up,
It's
bring 'em up.
interesting, man.
Bring 'em
It's
up.
very interesting. I've been
Drop
reading
couple
the
minutes.
study, you know, and getting more informed as to the rights and how to reserve it, because I've just received a court document. So I was reading over, brother, and I saw where it said at the top, they said something we had discussed the last time we were here. It had something to do with we're not, what do you see now? We're not Aboriginal, we're indigenous. Oh, your
The
status.
status, yeah, the status.
I recall the last time we discussed, it says on top right hand side of the paper, what's your status?
Oh, it says, okay.
That's pertaining to my child that's in care.
Right.
And it says non-Aboriginal, status unknown. Status unknown. and that's my child. So I stopped, was reading, and then I recall what brother said about our status. Who am I, brother? So
Right.
that's very important. Who are we?
Right.
Because for now I have no status. So what's our status? What's my status?
Right. So
So that's something that I have, I've been thinking, a bit about, because it says
Unknown.
unknown.
Okay, so see, just like with the other brother that was here, that's what we were asking. What is your status? Because if your status is not clarified, they put whatever status they want on you.
That's true, brother.
You know what I'm saying? So, like it just like you walking into this door, for instance, knowing your status. Is your status an adept? Is your status just a new person?
Yes.
We will know that just by you walking in, seeing you. Just like when you walk through the so-called courtroom,
That's true.
they know your status. If you walk in there with a layman, lawyer right next to you, they know
They know
your
your status.
Your status is dead.
Yes.
So once they know your status is dead, they know how to deal with. They don't even need to deal with you anymore. They deal with the entity that is holding you now.
That's true, brother. That's right.
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 Now, just so you know, status.
Yeah.
So this is how they're looking at status. We look at status as, whatever we think it is in our mind, right? But this is how they look at status, right? Status, standing, state, or condition. The legal relation of individual to the rest of the community. The rights, duties, capacities, and incapacities which determine a person to a given class.
Oh, so class.
So they put you in that
Category,
class.
yes.
So it's like they,
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
Right? A legal personal relationship. Right? It's personal. Right? So it doesn't have anything to do with anybody else's assumption or what they think. Status is personal. A legal personal relationship, not temporary in its nature, nor terminable at the mere will of the parties, with which third persons and the state are concerned. While term implies relation, it is not a mere relation.
For the temple.
Right? Status also means estate, because it signifies the condition or circumstances in which one stands with regard to his property. So when the status is unknown more than likely because the individual is a minor or a ward. Right? All right, Bob, we'll connect that now. Right? So if the status is minor or ward, then the class, right, is below national.
Oh, below national.
And if your status is below national, then you're
Aboriginal.
Aboriginal.
Oh, okay.
Civil mortus.
right?
Okay.
Civil liter mortus. And then civil liter mortus means dead in the view of the law. So the status, right, is minor, ward, below a national, non-aboriginal, hence, or therefore, civil liter mortus.
Civil mortus.
Right? Whereas the status of a Moor, right, is in full life, which means neither actually dead, as in not breathing, or this. Right? So the status of a Moor is in full life, not dead, or civiliter mortus. The status of the Moor is in propria persona. Which means in one's own proper person. Or in one's own in one's own nationality. Now remember what we were talking about earlier, just a second ago. The reason why we have these status is because of the birth certificate. And once you have the birth certificate, then you class yourself as property. And once you're classed as property, then
Property.
you're property. So now you have to pay whatever, or you have to go take the test that they say, or you have to, whatever. Anything they say, you have to do. Right? But this is the protection from that.
Yes.
Right? The protection from that is knowing that you're in full life. But not just knowing it, but saying it.
Yes, because along I was surprised when I asked her, I said, here it says here, in regards to status, I said, I am not original. She laughed. And I said, you know, I'm a Moorish American. She said,
What?
what do you say? I told her, I'm not Aboriginal, but my status is Moorish American. Her eyes popped out. She took off her glasses. She said, what did you say? She said, could you give me 5 minutes? She left the room, she went away. She came back with a different attitude. She was thinking. She looked at the paperwork, and she's like saying, like, I'm not sure what she was thinking, like, man. She was a bit confused.
Yeah.
Different response, eh?
Different response. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I just heard in my head, just say the word. I heard it here. I read it. I read the little pamphlets.
Right.
So I had an idea
Right.
what I was saying. I said, just mention the word and see the difference.
See what happens.
I see what happens.
Yeah.
I just mentioned the word. I marched American, and she stood still. She took off her glass, her hat pops out like she said, like, man, we're in some deep shit.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Because that's what it
She
is.
said like, I'm in some deep shit now. She left. 5 minutes. Probably she went to get a glass of water. She came back, and she's like, what are we going to do?
Right? So right now, that's really where it goes.
So what is it? What is it about those words that have her thinking?
That's a good
She's
question.
wondering. She's wondering. What about Moorish American to make sure say, you know what? You're not going to make any money off this stuff. You're like, you know what? If you know this stuff, why are you here?
Okay.
You don't need to meet with me. That's what she's saying. You don't need to meet with me if you know this stuff.
Yeah, but now this is what where we have to go with it, right? Is taking using our time, right? People who know, using our time to assist you, right, in correcting that on their side. Because nothing's correct on their side. You just made a statement to them.
Yes, and you know what?
Right?
It's like so much respect. Mr. Johnson. I said, no. They can call me Ian.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
You can call me Ian.
Yes.
Just read that.
Thanks, brother.
Which one is Article 6?
So something there.
Okay.
It's clicking.
It's clicking.
Okay, this is taken from the questionnaire School of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Article 6, or Act 6, sorry, it says, with us all members must proclaim their nationality and we are teaching our people that their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem this people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa.
Read the last part again. The Moorish Americans.
The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So,
Right? Descendants, right? Of the ancient Moabites. Of North, South, Central America, right? If you're a descendant of the ancient Moabites of North, South, Central America, then you're Aboriginal, right? But by you denouncing this, saying that forget Aboriginal, I'm Moorish American,
Yes.
right? Or forget indigenous, I'm Moorish American, you up the frequency of Moorish American. You took it to a higher level by taking it out of, because Moors also have galactic history, not just history on Earth. So by you saying certain things to her, and her eyes popping out of her head or whatever like that, right? Is because they have a certain degree of knowledge.
I see.
So she knows that we're the indigenous Aboriginal people. But if you're not claiming it, then you're claiming something superior to Aboriginal and indigenous.
Can we check out the word
Yes.
Aboriginal?
Of course, because what she did after I mentioned to her, she said, okay, put it right here, write it in, and initial it. She said to put it there.
Right? But where it
Because
you wanna make a formal written declaration to them,
yes, because
not just out of your mouth,
all right, brother.
right? Because by making it out of your mouth, that's a step. Because we say Moors have to proclaim and declare their nationality.
Okay,
Right?
Here, yes, brother.
Proclamation is,
Word spoken, yes.
so now you have to do the declaration, which is done in paper form. Right, which is where the whole paperwork thing comes from that we were talking about earlier. That there's a time and a place for that. The quote unquote paper part, right? So, well, you just deal with Amari and the brothers or whatever,
yes, brother.
and you'll get the little package
Yes, brother.
that you could send to them
Yes.
to let them know that this is the position that you're taking.
All right, brother.
Right? But now remember, keep in mind of how they dealt with you, right? After you said you're Moorish American, right? They pretty much said, okay, fine, you can handle your own stuff. We don't really need to talk anymore. You don't need to have any conversations or anything like that.
Yes.
Because you're in full life, you're not dead, right? You're not below a national, you're not a minor, a ward, you're not property, you're none of that. You're free. So do whatever you gotta do. Because you're taking responsibility,
That's right.
You just add
right?
to it.
And the first step for taking responsibility is, who are you?
You.
Look for adding.
That's the first part. That's why in Matrix, right? Every time Neo went to see the Oracle, even in the newer ones, after, because remember, by Matrix 2 or 3, the Oracle was a different personage,
Yes.
right? She was a different physical being, which means that the other body died.
Same
So
spirit.
how much time we talking about in this movie? Where Oracle left this lady's body who died and came into this other lady's body, and she's saying things and she's telling, well, I know you don't recognize me or whatever, but I'm still the same, whatever,
Yes.
right? And then every time point to above the doorway and to know thyself. Oh yeah, that's Latin for know thyself, because that's the first rule. Once you are living, breathing entity, first rule, know thyself. If you don't know that, don't even talk about you spaceships and whatever. It's irrelevant. Don't even talk about going to court and getting stuff dismissed or whatever. It's irrelevant, right? It's irrelevant, because the first thing is, do you know who you are? And they're gonna test you to see if you know who you are by doing things like that. Put a non-Aboriginal on the paper. Let's see how he responds to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you probably just say, oh yeah, average person just, oh yeah, they'll just go ahead with the motions, thinking that there's nothing going on,
Yes.
right? But more than likely, they had your birth record, birth chart or whatever, and they know what's coming. They just can't really come out and tell you that this is what they're doing, because then it'll click to you immediately that, hold on a second, these people have more information about me than I have about myself.
Yeah.
How do you know about my ascending sun and my rising whatever? Like, you're not supposed to know that stuff, right? That's personal, just like status. It's personal. And if you don't know what your status is, trust me, they're gonna make you a minor
Yes.
and a ward,
Yes.
and they would treat you according to your status, right? But again, it comes back to that thing that, yes, you told them, but on their paper, your status is still this.
Yes.
So it's about correcting this with them, since they already know, since you know who that lady was that you could just call the court, get her name or whatever, and then you send her something,
All right, brother.
letting her know.
I check. Yes.
Just remember we had a conversation last week about whatever. I just wanted to give you the paperwork so you know that, when I say I'm Moorish American, this is what I mean, right? And then you're going to tell her to make sure that she passes it, because she's probably, low level. So you're going to tell her, make sure she passes it up and down.
Yes, brother.
And you're not only going to send it to her, you're going to also CC international community and a couple embassies and, other people. Let them know that, you're not nigger
Yes, brother.
slave anymore. You're now capable of handling your own affairs. You know who your prophet is. You know about your nationality, your birthrights. You know that this is your estate. All this stuff is in the you got one of the newspapers?
Yes, brother.
Yeah. So in the newspaper is the same thing. Matter of fact, you can take one of those and send that.
Yes, brother.
Let them know, yeah, this is our newspaper. Just have a little cover letter on it. How you doing? Remember when I came and I told you about Moorish Americans? I just wanted to give you a little bit further information,
Yes.
so you can, here's the newspaper. And any questions, numbers on there, email or whatever.
Yes, brother.
I guarantee you, you won't hear nothing from those people again.
Yes, I know. Because she seemed so nervous. Like,
Yeah.
she was thinking, she had to take a break. 5 minutes break.
Yeah.
When she came back, it's like she saw a ghost.
She did.
Because she did. She did see.
Yeah, she was
Right? Why she look like she saw a ghost? Because we're supposed to be dead.
We're just corpse walking around.
Yes, yes.
We're supposed to be dead. They know that we're dead. Why know that we're dead? Because we're black people.
Yes. Yes.
And black people are the deadest people on the planet. Everybody knows that. But as soon as we start saying that we're not that anymore, now they have to get nervous. Because if we're not saying that we're black, then that means we're saying that we're more. And if we're saying that we're more, then we're saying that we're actually their master. And if we're your master, then that means you're my slave. And if you're my slave in 2013, the first thing they're going to think about is 400 years when they kicked our ass. And what are we going to do to them when we take the slave master position, and then they're now back as the slave? But then that's why Mojo Ali came with love instead of hate. So when we get back in power, we're not going to treat them how they treated us, because how they treated us was because of how we treated them.
Karma.
And they were actually even in the books by treating us how they treated us. Because, you know, we had all their women up in the harem and all that. You know, Solomon and 50 children and all that. Right? So once they realize that we're not going to be slave masters like they were slave masters, you know, we're going to govern things a little bit different, right? Then they'll kind of, you know, tone down. They're not going to be worried too much about, you know, they're not going to do the eye bulging and all that stuff, because it's going to be expected that we govern ourselves a certain way when we get on top. Because they already know we're going to be on top. It's prophecy that we're going to be back on top again. The problem that they have is, are we going to be on top with a correct mind frame? Are we going to be on top with a revenge mind frame and try to take them out and, you know, like how Morris say, well, you know, when we get in charge, we're going to kick them back to Europe. Well, not really, because they ain't going. They're leaving Europe, coming here. They're going back to Europe just because we said go back to Europe. So we're going to have to find a way to govern them in this land, which is what the Constitution's for. That's been here since 1700s to govern them in this land, so they could deal with stuff properly and correct and by the books. But they didn't follow that because they were infiltrated. And that was the story in The Matrix.
And the movie, the video game Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
That's the concept too.
Right? Because remember remember the Oracle and the Merovingian and the architect, they all had beef. That's the European infight. Right? The same Europeans who left Europe to come over here, set up a government here, and then when they set up government here, then they got infiltrated over here. And now you have these so-called people, free man on the land and European sovereigns or whatever, right? Trying to be free in land that's not theirs. And they're really trying to escape European domination that they know is European domination, right? And that it's not really supposed to be like that, because then you're bringing karma on the whole planet. You're killing trees and and then majority of, you know, rights activists or whatever for nature, trees and whatever, Europeans. PETA and all these people, there's Europeans who are mad at Europeans because they kill animals and they do whatever, and they're gonna go lie down on tracks and they're gonna protest or whatever for some squirrels or whatever, right? Because they know that there's an infight in that nation, in the European side, there's infighting.
Yes, infighting.
Right? Amongst them. And some of them, just like the Oracle, because don't forget, the Oracle, she was part of the Matrix. The Oracle wasn't a black lady trying to help Neo and Morpheus and what. She was part of the Matrix. She was down with the Matrix. She was created by the Matrix. Right? Her and the Grand Architect were boys. Right? But she was against him. She She was like, well, that was the part in the end when Agent Smith came in the kitchen or whatever, and he's trying to well, why do you do this? And you put these cookies here. Then if you put these cookies here, for me to take them, well then I do this. Then that means you actually meant to put the cookies there because you knew I was gonna do this and blah, blah, blah. And then she's just like, well, just do what you're gonna do. Like,
What are you waiting for?
what's in the game? Push the cookies and stuff. Just stick your hand in me, turn me into agent, so we can keep this thing moving. Right? Well, infighting.
Infight. It's just like at the end when it's the architect, right? When she met with them, and it's like, well, what are we gonna do next time?
Yeah, right.
Like,
okay, well,
it was like all of that.
we're falling right now.
Okay, we fall.
What's next?
What's next?
Right? What's next?
It's like another Neo's gonna come again.
Right.
Then they do it again.
The cycle is
over and over.
cycle over and over again. Right? Which is why the cycle is the same over and over again. Birth certificate, make us a ward, make us a minor, make us property below national, so they can claim our estate, and then we can't claim anything because we're in a minor status. But then when we get in this status now, and then we start making claims, and we claim this house over here, claim this mansion over here, start telling people that you guys don't have jurisdiction when we go to court. I'm not paying no fines. I'm not paying taxes. Now they're caught now, because if they defend our position, right, then they're basically saying that what we're saying is legit. If they defend it, you know what I mean? If they put up their dukes to fight, then obviously what I'm saying is legit. Why are you fighting?
Yes. Facts.
Right? And if they don't do anything, it means our position is legit. Because if we make a claim and they pretend like, well, we're just going to pretend like we never heard nothing, then everything that we said stands as law because they defaulted.
They defaulted.
And that's the law. That's why I'm saying to send them the stuff. Send them the papers. Because they're not going to reply to you.
I think she's expecting something, Julie.
Yeah,
Yes, she's
she probably
expecting.
is.
She's expecting. Yes.
Send
She
something.
probably is.
Yes, I was saying something, brother. That's what I was read.
Probably is. And it doesn't have to be dragged out long,
No.
80 pages, or nothing like that.
No, brother.
One page. Send a registered mail. Make sure you have LRB on your name, and see how they respond after you send that.
No, brother. I can tell. I felt it. I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I knew it right here and there.
And you're an example of where we're trying to get all these people out here, right?
Yes.
To be at in their frame of mind.
Yes.
To see that's how easy it is. You just go in there and say, well, I'm whatever, and then wait for their reaction.
Yes, because it says there, it said, you're nobody. What's your status? Unknown. You're unknown. You're an unknown person.
Unknown to you.
Yes.
Right. That's the other part.
Yeah.
Unknown to who?
That was it.
Right? Unknown to them. But since you were unknown to them and you were in their presence,
They make you whatever they want.
they make you whatever they want until you say, well, I was reading your paper right here, and your paper says black people or
Yes.
whatever. I'm not a black person.
Oh.
I'm Marsh American.
Yes.
So does this have to do with me? Can I leave or like what's because once we get to that place, we have to remember that it's no more asking.
No.
So now we make demands now.
Yes, that's true.
Now we tell them,
Yes.
oh yeah, don't forget you have to do that.
Yes.
And they have to do it. Because, like we're reading in the Zodiac Constitution, no matter what it is that Moors say, they have to go with it, or they're going to be in violation of their own white supremacy, whatever that they founded. Supreme violation too. Not just violation, they'll be in supreme violation if they go against what you say, what you tell them.
But it's usual. What's their infighting? You say they're infighting. What are they infighting about?
Who knows what
The
they're doing?
Europeans. What is it?
Well, based on history, they're infighting because some people on their side love the Moors. sleep with the Moors, and they want to have children with the Moors, and
Yes,
you know
it
they
is.
want to they want to admit that, you know, Europe was ruled by Moors at one time, and you know there was actually a nobility before the British monarchy and things like that.
But isn't the British monarchy Moorish?
Well, that's
Yeah, but that's not how they put it. They put it like the British monarchy, right? When they should really be saying Moorish monarchy, you know, in control by Europeans. But then if they say Moorish monarchy, then you know they lose all their
Credibility.
You know, because that's a whole front.
Yeah.
You know, the British monarchy and queen and all this type of stuff. That's a big front. You know.
Let me get up out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we about to fly out. Right? So 46.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else on the mines? Any other comments or add-ons?
Yeah, how long did the things you guys put nationality cards through?
Yeah, we put them through. I talked to Roz sent me an email.
Sending you, she's supposed to send me.
No, because remember I sent mine. So she was
Oh, she
sending me
sent
that
yours.
she was
Oh, okay.
letting me know that she got it, and she was waiting for the other ones.
Oh, okay,
So I
okay.
told her that it's on the way. So
Okay, alright, just check.
it should be. I don't want to put a time on it. Really.
No, well, I mean, I'll wait.
I want to do it before I wanted to get them for the new year.
It will be-
Yeah, it'll be done before New
done.
Year for
It'll be
sure.
done.
For sure before New Year, most definitely. Most definitely.
It was sent on last week Monday, so
Yeah.
she should get it.
So they should get it this week sometime.
Brother, I want you to help me with that stuff because I know she's expecting something. As I said, she's expecting something.
You've been speaking with Melissa, I hope.
Yes.
Sister Melissa?
Yes. We speak with her as well.
Like 24/7, because remember, what I always say with certain things is, you follow who's been down that road.
Yes, brother.
She's
Been.
walked down that road.
Yes, yes.
The situation that you're in.
Yes.
Not that I haven't walked down that road, it's just that she knows the steps where to walk and how to get it done. So it's good to speak with her.
Yes,
Trust me.
Yes.
I could help you, but I'm just saying she's been down that road
In terms of
in terms of
getting that
children.
Yes, and identity. You will help me to get to that stage. Identity.
Yes.
Getting tall for real.
Oh yeah.
Makes sense.
Getting tall for real.
Alright, so
But yeah, we'll just close out and then we could we could do the building thing for a little bit.
okay, guys.
Yeah. Quick close out.
Information is that.
Don't leave it. Don't leave it.
5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe. Father of love.
Father of love, truth,
Peace.
peace,
Freedom.
freedom,
And justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector,
My guide.
my guide,
And my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night.
By night
And by day.
and by day,
Through his holy prophet.
through his holy prophet,
Noble Drew Ali.
Noble Drew Ali.
Islam.
Islam, Islam,
Islam.
Islam.
Peace.
Peace.
There you go. So,
What did you
what did you get?